Ding dong. Hello, hello, hello. Suddenly I'm RuPaul. Hi, welcome on in. Hello. It's the last stream of the year. Hello, hi. How are you? Hope you're doing lovely. Because today is the day I rank every video game I've played in the year of 2024. Obviously, as a little bit of a disclaimer, I'm not gonna be counting demos because we could say that for some of the demos that I spent like a whole stream playing, that it's like I played the game, but I didn't. I played a demo. And that would also mean that I would have to go through every single individual demo that we've ever played on the PS1 demos streams. So I'm not doing that either. So shout out to the demos. I don't want to keep you excluded from the conversation, but shout out to the demos. I'm also not including, by the way, non-PS1 demos that I played. Shout out to Nova Hearts, Summer House, Duck Detective, The Secret Salami, Until Then, Magical Delicacy, Nocturne, and Sword of Convaleria for This World of Peace. That last one was Boo Boo Nasty. I did not like it. However, shout out, because I played all of those. I also am not featuring in my list 3 games that I played for like an hour each during the Game Pass week. So I'm not including BlazBlue, Cross Tag Battle, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, and Guilty Gear Strive, because I feel like I barely scratched the surface. So it's like I played a demo of those, right? It doesn't really feel like I really played those games. So that's that on that. That's that on that. That's the disclaimer. So are you ready to see the list? I'm not ready to show the list, actually. So let me maybe I work on that. How about that? Maybe I work on that. That's something I totally completely forgot about. But yeah, this is the last stream of the year, which means it's gonna be a more reflective, that's not a word. It's gonna be a stream that's more of a reflection, of a look back at the past year. It's gonna be more of a situation that we look at and we yep. I forgot where I was going with that. But essentially, it's going to be a good time, but also fun times. No, that's quite literally not what I meant to get at. I'm trying to... Okay, I think that's perfect, actually. Y'all can't see what I'm talking about, but I can assure you that it's perfect. I guess. All right. So, let me show you what I'm looking at. So here... Oh, game not provided. There was no game. Well, there are a couple games that were provided, but we'll mention those when we get to them. So this is the list of all the games that I've played this year. You may notice that it's actually not that big of a list. So I'll talk about that later, but just for reference, last year I played a lot more games. I think I don't have that number on me, actually. I don't have the number on me. However, I will pull it up. But last year, my goal, well, not my goal, but last year when I did kind of a look back at what I did that year, I figured out that we've played 44 different games. The problem with that is that I didn't finish most of them. A lot of them were like one stream sort of moments, maybe 2 streams for some, or, you know, a few streams for others. But I remember consciously going into this year being like, no, I want to experience more games, even if I want to experience less games, but I want to finish more games. So I can say that I accomplished that because most games, or a lot of games featured here, I did finish. You didn't see that. All right. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 18 games total. Not that many games, to be fair, but yeah, I want to play more next year, but we'll get to that because today, you know, we got time. So I've got 5 whole tiers here. We've got the S tier, we got the A tier, we got the B tier, C tier, and obviously the F tier. So I usually rename the tiers so that people know, so it has a little bit of personality. So the F tier is going to be for flops. These are the games that I didn't like, that I didn't care for, that I wouldn't recommend, that, yeah. The S tier would be for the best games. Like, I would totally recommend you play it. Games that I still think about, games that are just amazing in every way, shape, or form. So, I'm gonna say talented, brilliant, show-stopping. That doesn't even fit. Okay, maybe we're not gonna quote Lady Gaga on that one. Maybe Goaties, game of the year. Maybe game of the year. Slayful times. Yep. Okay, cool. So the A tier, which is a tier that I don't know if all of these tiers will remain because it's only 18 games, okay? But the A tier, I would say, is for a game that's like, I enjoyed it, and maybe I would recommend it, but maybe like on sale. You know what I mean? Like, it's a game that I've enjoyed, but I didn't love. So for this, it would be something like, she's cute. She's cute, you know? So the B tier is the meh tier. It's kind of like games that didn't really shake the table. Games that kind of I didn't love or hate. So it's just kind of games that are like, meh, that happened. And then the C tier, I might remove the C tier, honestly, because it's like, it's a game that I didn't like, but I didn't hate, I guess, or a game that I would be willing to give another chance or something. I don't know. I might remove this tier. I don't think we need it, now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I don't think we need this one. Okay. Just kidding. I moved it. Oh my god. Please stop that. Delete row. I might add it back. Oh, now the framing is incorrect. Oh, no. I should have kept it. Because I don't like these emojis being there. Okay, you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. So I'm not doing this in alphabetical order. I'm actually doing this in the order in which I first started these games. So the first game that I started with in the year of 2024, this past year, is Sonic Lost World. So Sonic Lost World for me was a game that I was actually quite excited for, because it was like the start of a new year, a game that I had never played before that was sitting on my library for a while, and it looked different, it looked interesting, but I couldn't help but notice that it's not a game in the Sonic that I hear a lot about, It's not a game that I often hear about, and there's a reason for it. It's because it's not great. It just didn't feel, I'm gonna say it's a flop. It just didn't feel like a Sonic game to me. It's cute to experiment with like a game series and a franchise, especially one that's been ongoing for so long. I think it's totally normal to do it. But to me, it feels like it just didn't feel, as someone who grew up with Sonic and has played so many Sonic games through the years, this just doesn't get that, doesn't have that Sonic edge where you're going fast but not too fast, and you're like platforming. There's some precise moments, and there's also some fun moments. To me, it just felt like the whole like planet view thing where it's the fisheye view really kind of threw me off. I didn't love it. It felt to me that like this feels like a sequel to me, and I understand that this came out after Colors, so there's like some stuff that kind of calls back to Colors, but I am not privy to that game. And so to me, it just felt like I was just sort of thrown into it. I didn't really care for the story that was being presented to me. I didn't really have any investment in it because I didn't play Colors. And just like, it just wasn't fun. I played it for 3 whole streams to give it a proper chance, because, sometimes games take a little bit to warm up. But after like, I think I did 4-hour streams for all of those, if I'm not mistaken. I gave it plenty of time, and it was a flop for me. So sorry about that, Sonic Lost World, but it is the truth. It is the truth. So next up, we kept the platforming bits, I guess, a little bit, and we added some drama. We added some adventure with Uncharted 2. This is actually a game that I've been wanting to stream for a long time, and we just jumped on it. As soon as Sonic flopped, Nathan Drake replaced him, and honestly, I really enjoyed it, but I wouldn't necessarily call it like one of my personal highlights. I think she's cute, she's cute. She's a cute moment. I enjoyed it. It was a very enjoyable experience. It was pretty short, which I do find good, because I think within a week of streaming, within like 3 streams or 4 streams, I was done with the game, and it felt action-packed, it felt fun, it was lovely. It just, to me, wasn't a game that I came out of it and I was like, wow, and I was still thinking about it and all that stuff. Like, it was really good. It was a well-made game from start to finish. I didn't feel like there were any like dull moments in it, except for like certain things here and there where like I just got confused or like I was trying to like, sometimes certain sections I thought worked a certain way and they worked a different way, and sometimes I would try doing something one way and it didn't work, and then I would try the exact same thing and it would work. So, just just slightly temperamental, I guess, but it was really good. I definitely recommend. I mean, I feel like I may have been the last person on the planet to play Uncharted 2. But yeah, she's cute. Next up, I played another game that had been sitting on my library for a very long time, that I've thought about streaming for a while, and this game is called Shenmue. So Shenmue is a very interesting video game. I think interesting is a very good word to describe it, because a lot of people refer to it as the Yakuza prototype, because it's a game that is set in Japan, and it feels more like almost like a slice of life, where it actually has a lot of things that weren't common at the time in a video game, but that are pretty common in a few modern titles, I would say, where there's like, the game takes place through the course of like a month, I think, roughly, and you play as Ryo, and he is basically, I don't know what he's trying to do, like avenge the death of his father. And so you just like go around town and you ask people questions. Some of them are rude to you, some of them are very like not helpful at all. But you sort of navigate through the streets and by interacting with all these NPCs, and then there are a couple fight moments where I think the fighting is actually in the same style or the same sort of engine as like Virtua Fighter, if I'm not mistaken. So there is a little bit of fighting in it, but there's also like a lot of just like, you get to live as this character, because it's like you find out something and then it's like, oh, you have to meet that person tomorrow at 2 p.m. So you find this information out like the day before in the afternoon, and so you have a little bit of like free time that you can spend. So you go to the arcade, or you walk around the town and you talk to a bunch of people, or I guess there aren't like that many things to do. But you can interact with like the people around, and you just sort of get to live as this character. You get to like explore this town, this small town, and you get to eventually you unlock more of like a second area that you can explore as well. You get a little job. It's cute. So you know, immediately I have to put it in the A category. I don't know. The only thing I will say though is like, you have to be very patient with the game, because it's not a game that is like designed for like instant gratification. And I will say something to its detriment. Once you get to the end of the game, it almost feels like you played like a demo. Like, it feels like when the game ends, it's like the story was just getting started. So it really hooks you to like want to play Shenmue 2. But at the same time, I remember feeling like, oh, like that's it. Like I remember when I finished it, I was like, oh, that's it. Like I thought we just got started, you know. But it really goes to, you know, show how much games evolved, that at the time that was probably like a long enough game, but now I was like, wait a minute. What do you mean we're ending now? So yeah, I recommend Shenmue, but you have to go into it thinking that this is a game from the 2000s, I think, and that it came out for the Dreamcast, and that it doesn't really live up to like a Yakuza or something like that, but you have to go into it thinking of it as like a piece of like interesting video game history that sort of led and sort of snowballed or planted the seed for games like Yakuza, and even like the Persona format of like having to sort of live in the shoes of that character for a while and really, and like Metaphor, for example, where like something is meant to happen like in 2 days, and so you just get to spend time as that character for those 2 days. You know what I mean? Obviously not as fleshed out as any of those games that I just mentioned, but it's a really neat piece of video game history, is I feel like the best way to describe it. It's also, for the price of one game, you get Shenmue 1 and 2. So if you find it on sale, I definitely recommend it if you're interested in delving into that little piece of gaming history. Hi Sebastian, how's it going? Wow, why is no one watching me? I just started the stream. That's not a fun thing to say or hear, I guess. But it's okay. People have their lives. It's the day before New Year's Eve. People have things going on, and they can always watch this. They can always watch the VOD later. So it's all good, you know. I usually don't talk about like how many people are watching and all that stuff in real time, because it doesn't really add to the experience, or like what am I supposed to do about it kind of thing. So it's like, if people watch, they watch. If they don't, they don't. It is what it is. As long as they enjoy for however long they watch, or if they watch later or whatever, then that's all that I can really, you know, be thankful for and all that. So yes, game number 4, Persona 3 Reload. Immediately, I have to put it, I'm legally obliged to put it in the Slayful Times. Our first game in the S tier. I have, I would say, limited experience with Persona as a concept. So Persona 3 Reload was actually my second Persona game ever. I played Persona 4 Golden, and I actually started it last year on stream, and then I felt insecure about the numbers and the statistics and all that stuff, so I just ended up streaming it or playing it myself. And I remember that game, I wasn't used to the Persona formula, so I was sort of like overwhelmed, and I was sort of like, I was overwhelmed by the idea of like trying to get everything right, or like being like, and I would get so torn up about like, oh, which character do I hang out with and all this stuff. And then I realized the game is like super fucking long, so you actually don't have to worry that much about it, except for, you know, certain characters have certain limited times in which you can hang out with them and stuff like that. But I guess the point is, and to build off of what I said about Shenmue, it's really a game where you get to live as this character, and eventually you meet all these characters that become your friends in this game over the course of like an in-game year, right? So you just like, I think personally the best approach to a Persona game is to just play it. To just play it as is. Like, don't try to look into it too much. Don't try to, you know, min-max everything or do the correct thing, because to me it doesn't feel like there is a correct thing. To me, especially for a first playthrough, just do whatever you feel like doing that day. Like, if you want to, you know, for that specific game week, like if you want to hang out with the same person the whole week, cool. If you want to diversify and one day you want to work on your social skills and one day you want to work on a specific character's S-Link, or if you want to go to Tartarus every other day, or if you want to go to Tartarus once a week or whatever, like, I think you can really shape your experience by really just immersing yourself in it and just doing whatever you enjoy and whatever you gravitate towards and stuff like that. So I think it's really cool that Persona in general, but Persona 3 Reload really gives you that freedom to build out relationships and friendships with whoever you want. Spend your afternoons or evenings with doing whatever you want, whether it's studying or downloading or purchasing a particular software to increase your courage, or going to the arcade to play a game that will increase your strength or whatever, you know, like it's a really interesting video game. It's a really cool video game. I'll talk more about this genre of game, I feel like, when I get to Metaphor ReFantagio. But the only thing that I will say as a criticism to it is that, having played Persona 4, it kind of exposed to me the skeleton and the formula, of Persona. So to me, it almost felt like, oh, I'm getting a very similar experience, but the characters just look different. You know what I mean? To me, it just felt like a little formulaic. Like, okay, I understand Persona, like I get it. Whereas, like, you know, Metaphor, later I can talk about it in more detail. To me, it feels like it has glimpses of that formula, but it also kind of does its own thing with it. But, you know, I digress. Persona 3 Reload, super recommend. It has the price point, especially if you want to get the DLC as well, is a bit high. Also, something to note is that I did get this game for free to stream it from the developers, but obviously it doesn't impact my opinions on it, because they don't force you to be nice about the games that they provide. They don't force you to play the games. If I for all I know, I could have just played that game once and just dropped it. Like, there was no obligation for me to stream the whole way through, or to do anything, or to say anything nice about it. So there's the disclaimer. You agree that it's S tier? I loved it. It's definitely one of my highlights of this year for sure. It's one of those games that, when I wasn't playing it, I thought about it, and I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to like see what's next. I can't wait, like, how am I gonna spend the times? And it's also one of those games that kind of, they don't give you everything off the bat. So I really enjoy that over the course of that in-game year, which, by the way, I played over 100 hours of it. It kind of just slowly peels like an onion. There's like a lot of different layers to it, like a lasagna. I feel like everyone says onions when they talk about layers. Let's talk about a Photoshop project or a lasagna, or because those are also layered. A good haircut. I don't know. There's a lot of layers to it, and you unlock different things over the course of the game, and you get new characters, and things happen, twists, turns, and all that stuff. And I really love it for that. Also, yeah, killer soundtrack, absolutely amazing. Alrighty, I'm gonna lose track of like the numbers of the songs of the, not the songs, of the games, but the next game on the list here, oh, actually this one I may struggle with, actually, with giving it a rating. So the next one I've got is Tomb Raider 3 Remastered, specifically. This is another game that I did get a key for, but I don't have the best I don't have the most positive opinions of it, I guess. And I think, okay, let me start from the beginning. The remastered looks great. I love that. I mean, I feel like I don't have to explain Tomb Raider, but this is a remastered version of the original Tomb Raider 3. It actually comes in the same game, like 1, 2, and 3, the trilogy of the original Tomb Raider games, where you play as Lara Croft. There's like tank controls, and you explore through these levels, and you find relics, and you puzzle your way through it, and you have to battle, or I guess shoot, creatures that range from bats to like dinosaurs, and maybe like supernatural things as well in some of those. But what I really enjoyed about this game is that you can toggle between the old graphics and the new graphics. I always enjoyed that just a juxtaposition. I think this game is cool for a taste, but it's really difficult to play all the way through the way that I did. This is one of those games that I really pushed myself to play because I was like, I'm not going to let this game defeat me. This is also that era when I started Shenmue. It was also... This game alongside Shenmue was a game that I felt like I couldn't play it every single stream back to back. So I felt like this is the part of the year where I started having a different game for a different day of the week. Because to me, I felt like if I play this game 3 streams in a row, I'm going to drop it. Because it can be that not necessarily intense, but it can be that like daunting, I guess. I don't know if that's the perfect word for that, but it's a game that requires a lot of time from you. It's oftentimes not very forgiving. So if you you try to make a specific jump and then you miss that jump, then you just die and you have to try it again. And sometimes the repetition really bothers me and really frustrates me. So I feel like there's specific sections of this game that were designed to torture the player. And oftentimes it feels like I felt kind of hopeless to the point where actually in the last, I would say, third of the game, maybe, yeah, or fourth of the game. It wasn't that long of a section, but towards the end, I just sort of gave up and I activated cheats to have unlimited med kits and unlimited ammo and all this stuff, which actually made the experience a lot better because I could just blast through certain sections that were bothering me or that were pissing me off or that I was spending way too much time in. So yeah, Tomb Raider 3, I actually enjoyed the earlier moments of it where you get to explore these different areas. And something that bothers me about old school Tomb Raider as well is that sometimes you get stuck in a section for an hour and then you go to look it up and it's something ridiculous and it's something that oh my god, how could I have missed that, or how was I supposed to guess that, or you know what I mean? It's so I'm gonna put it in the meh category because it is a game that it did move me in a way where negatively. It's a game that when I had a good time with it, I had a good time, and sometimes I had a not good time with it. You know what I mean? I have a soft spot for the Tomb Raider series because it just feels so nostalgic and yeah, it's just a piece of nostalgia. Y'all know how much I love the PS1 era, so it just feeds into that nostalgia bug. But sometimes, especially when you get to the latter parts of this game, or there's definitely specific sections of this game that pissed me off beyond belief. So I would recommend it if you're a big fan of games that have those types of tank controls. Also, I didn't mention it, they do have a feature where you can play with modern controls, but I wouldn't recommend that because these games were designed to do the tank controls. They were designed with the tank controls in mind, so I wouldn't recommend doing the modern controls because it just doesn't hit the same. It's just it feels because sometimes you have to be very precise with your jumps and with certain things, so it's you get that precision if you do the tank controls because they calculated how much she moves in one step with the tank controls and how it works when you shift the camera or when you look around and stuff like that. Everything is specifically designed with that in mind, so I wouldn't recommend going with modern controls on that. But yeah, that's my Tomb Raider 3 remastered experience. I'm so sorry to say. I also feel like it might be a me thing where I feel like people who are really good at Tomb Raider, they're amazing at it and they get it and they figure it out, but I just get very like irritated and overwhelmed when I don't get it after, like, if I'm stuck somewhere in like an hour, then I just get very like frustrated and annoyed. So that's Tomb Raider 3. Unfortunately, hold on. So you've never played it before. This is one of those games that if you didn't grow up with it, or if you didn't grow up with the franchise, I would recommend, like, maybe if you get it on sale or something, to like, if you get it like really cheap, to just like check it out, to see how you feel about it and how you like it. But yeah. I would more easily recommend like the 2013 reboot that they did of Tomb Raider. I feel like I would definitely recommend that to somebody who's never played a Tomb Raider before. This is my ranking according to my opinions and standards, so I'm not, y'all can obviously share your opinions on each of these games if you've played them or whatever, but I'm not looking at chat for like to get influenced on where I place a game. I do appreciate hearing y'all's thoughts, feelings, and opinions on it, but yeah. Unfortunately, the next game is also a game that I will place in the meh category, and that would be Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This is a game that was perfectly fine, but it just didn't grab me like that. It's a game that perfectly describes the feeling of meh, where I just sort of went through the motions with it, especially having played Uncharted 2 earlier in that year, or in this year. I didn't feel like as engaged with it. I didn't feel like the game really grabbed me and I was ever like amazed by it in any way. It felt a little, I don't know if generic is the best word, but to me it just felt like, oh, I've sort of done this before in the other two Tomb Raider games in the modern reboot iteration. And I feel like Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider did it better. And I don't know, this just didn't hit. This just didn't grab me. So unfortunately, that's where Shadow of the Tomb Raider sits alongside, its fellow retro counterpart, Tomb Raider 3. You agree with Sonic Lost World being F tier? Yeah. I really wish I liked it. I go into most games, if not every game, wanting to like it, because I don't want to waste my time streaming a game that I don't like, you know what I mean? So and I don't deal great with when I don't like a game. I feel like I become a hater very easily. So yeah. Ooh, I forgot to include Infinity Nikki, which I guess I only stream, well, I did play it for like 4 hours. I completely forgot about that. Let me add that to the list. Speaking of games that I didn't love, we'll get there. Hold on. Let me. Yeah, we can add it right now. There she is. I played that before Sonic CD. Okay, there you go. We have an addition. We have an addition to the games here. Okay. Next up, we've got Resident Evil 0. So this is a game that I actually started before in the past. And I just never finished it. It was just one of those games where a few years ago I picked it up, I streamed it, maybe a couple streams or something, and then I just got distracted by other things and I just sort of accidentally just sort of dropped it. This game is cute. She's a cute moment. I know describing a Resident Evil game as cute is not, you know, she's cute as in A tier. It's a very good video game. It's very well made. It has this, I mean, do I have to explain Resident Evil to you? I don't think so. It's like a survival. This plays more like the original sort of Resident Evils where there's like a tight inventory management sort of system. This one in specific is very interesting because they have this feature where you play as two characters, Billy and Rebecca, and you go back and forth. And so it's not really a multiplayer game, but I do think that this game may have planted the seed for like Resident Evil 5 and 6 with like having some sort of like co-op thing. But this isn't co-op. You just play as two different characters and you sort of manage them, the two of them, and you know, Billy can do certain puzzles, Rebecca can do certain things, and you just sort of have to pick and choose which character you want to do what, or you have to navigate that. And so the weird thing about this game is that they didn't have item boxes. So usually with Resident Evil 1 and 2 and I think 3 as well, they usually had, whenever there was a save point, you also would have an item box, so you could put your items in there and then you could access them through any point in the game. Because they have you play as two different characters, you just sort of have to disperse whatever items you get between the two of them, or you just have to drop them on the floor. And so that was something that I didn't realize until way later, because I kept dropping, like I would just dump a bunch of items on the ground in those save areas, but then the game actually has you traversing through multiple areas. And I was tricked into believing that the items sort of carry over to the different areas, because you start the game in a train and then eventually you get out of that train, spoilers I guess, and once you do, the game gives you like all the items that you collected throughout the train and you just dropped on the floor. They drop it like at the beginning of the second area. So I was like, oh, this is gonna happen for every area, I don't have to worry about that. But no. No, that's not that's not how this worked. So certain items I literally had to like either just be like, you know what, I'm never gonna go back there, it's gonna take too long for me to go back to that other area. And because all the other areas after the train are interconnected in a way, so you can technically go back to the places and grab whatever you wanted. But if you play this game, if you ever play this game, either be smarter about the items or install the mod on PC where they added item boxes. I wanted to play the game as vanilla as possible, which I did. But yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind. But I really enjoyed this game. This was, I mean, quintessential Resident Evil, or classic Resident Evil, I should say, where you traverse through this area that like has a lot of locked doors, but it's almost like roguelike-y, except like you don't die, or you do, but dying isn't part of the game's core. So essentially you start, there's like a little bit of an area, and then there's like maybe 5 different doors. 3 of them are locked and 2 of them are unlocked. So you have to explore the areas that are unlocked to sort of find things that will unlock the other 3 areas, right? I'm just being very vague about it. And so that's something that I find really satisfying, because you sort of build out this world map slowly but surely as you explore these different areas. And you can be like, oh my god, this totally opens up that door back there, or this is totally related to a puzzle that I need to unlock this certain area. And you just sort of like put the pieces together slowly, and then you find little like documents sprinkled throughout these different areas to get an idea of like what happened, like these journal entries and stuff like that. So you get like bits of lore and things like that. This game takes place, is like a prequel to Resident Evil 1, so that's why it's called Resident Evil 0. So it's very inconsequential, I guess, to the, you know, you don't really have to play this game. It just sort of adds a little bit of lore to the original Resident Evil if you were a fan of it. But it was very enjoyable. It's just like very satisfying to progress and to get like better guns as you progress, and to sort of see this like personal relationship building between Rebecca and Billy. And it's just like a neat video game. You know what I mean? It's very neat. So I definitely recommend it if you're a Resident Evil fan and, you know, you want to start playing, you know, if you've played already like a lot of the mainline stuff and you want to check out like spin-offs and maybe this prequel and other stuff, I definitely would recommend it. It's not my favorite Resident Evil game ever, but it was a really neat experience, you know? So that might be a boss that you're talking about, but I don't think that was part of this one specifically. Yeah, I guess I just answered your questions, I think, when I explained the core features about Resident Evil game. It's more like inventory management, survival horror, where you focus more not necessarily on killing zombies and like raids of zombies, but it's more like you have a certain amount of things like health packs and like, or herbs in this game, and you have to sort of manage like how much ammo you're using, and you have to manage, you only have certain amount of inventory slots, so you also have to manage that. So it's a lot of like navigating carefully these different areas and unlocking more areas, figuring out what you have to do next, and it's very interesting. I really enjoy this. I played a little bit of Left 4 Dead 4. Yeah, I think a friend got me that game and maybe we played like once. It seemed fun. It seemed fine. But yeah, I just didn't really get to play much of it. Yeah. I played a similar game that was called Back 4 Blood as well. And it's just, I think it's one of those games that like you associate those games with like a multiplayer experience, and I never really play multiplayer games. So I just sort of like, those games just end up sort of rotting in my inventory. Unfortunately. So next up, I've got a very special game that I adore so much, and I would call it a slayful time. This is called Fuser. So this is a video game created by Harmonix. It's a dead game, by the way. This game has been discontinued. This game has been unlisted from stores because this is like a music game, where it's not the easiest thing to explain, but you basically play as a DJ, and the game has different tracks available, like different songs, and you get to mix and match songs to your liking. So for example, you can have like a crate of songs, and especially now with the modding community taking over, you can have like the guitars of like Chemical Plant from Sonic 2 with the vocals of like Dua Lipa singing Houdini, with the drums of like a Charlie XCX song, and then maybe the synths of like a Britney Spears song. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a DJ game essentially. It's not really how DJing works, but you sort of get to play around with like music, and they have like a little story mode where they basically just teach you the mechanics of this game slowly but surely. But then there's like a freestyle mode, and it's fun. This kind of game is fun for like a special stream, like for a celebration of sorts. So you can just do like a couple sets, and people can like see what songs you have, and you can just sort of like add them to a crate, and you can make a little mix with the songs. So it's just DJing, really. It's very cool. Unfortunately, the game is dead. So in order for you to play it, you have to like check out like some tutorials online, which is not that difficult to find, but you have to go out of your way to sort of get into this game, because unfortunately it has been like delisted and it's no longer supported. But the cool thing about it, sorry, my nose is very itchy. The cool thing about it is that because the game has died, the modding community was able to take over and like add a bunch of songs that weren't in the game, and it's still like an ongoing community. This game died in like a couple years ago, I think, like 2022, 2021 maybe. And the community has been like, they've added a ton of songs like K-pop across different genres, video game music, and like rock, metal, and like K-pop, J-pop, like just R&B, pop. Like they have a bunch of stuff across genres, across decades. Really extensive library of like music now, because of how passionate the modding community is for it. So this is one of those that if you get your hands on it, I think you'll really like it. It's just really, really neat. And I had a very long period of time where I got very hyper fixated in this game, and I would play it like every day, like off stream. And yeah, I really, really love it. So it's an S tier for me, and I hope that they bring back, they probably won't. Harmonix is busy with like, it's probably very busy with like the Fortnite, what is it called? They have like, Fortnite has a rhythm game mode now, and Harmonix are taking care of that. And I feel like they're putting all of their attention there, and they're probably making a lot of money doing that. So I don't blame them for that. So, but I would love another sort of iteration to a Fuser game or something along those lines. I would really enjoy it. So next up, we've got Digimon World Next Order. This is unfortunately one of those games that I started and didn't finish. I think it just sort of got lost in this period of time where I was playing too many games at the same time, and then eventually I had to come to YouTube because I got wrongfully banned on Twitch. And I don't know why I'm laughing. I guess I'm laughing because I keep mentioning it. But anyways, so Digimon World is a game that I definitely want to get back to. It's a sequel to the PS1 game of the same genre called Digimon World. And this is actually more of like the original concept of Digimon, which for people who don't know, Digimon originally started as like kind of like a Tamagotchi, I don't want to say ripoff, but it's like that genre of like thing, you know, gadgets, entertainment, where you take care of this digital creature, and you have to feed them, you have to like do things to them. And so the Digimon World, the original Digimon World, and then Next Order sort of play off of that vibe of like you're exploring this world, the Digimon world, and you're sort of unveiling this storyline, but at the same time, at its core, you have to take care of your partner Digimon. So in Digimon World Next Order, you actually have two partner Digimon, and you basically spend your times like either exploring the world or like training them. So you take them to this gym and you train specific stats, and depending on what stats you train them, they evolve into these different, they digivolve into these different forms. So this one has definitely more of a structured story, and it's definitely more. The first Digimon World was a little confusing to get around, and it was very unclear what you needed to do oftentimes, which, you know, some people probably enjoy that because you can just like freely explore this world, and you know, the sky is the limit. But this one is a little bit more structured, which I liked, but unfortunately I just sort of dropped it. But I do intend to get back to it. So I'm gonna say she's cute. She deserves a second chance. I'm willing to give it a second chance. Maybe 2025 will be the year I do it. If I don't do it on stream, I probably will just pick it up on my own. Because I have so many games that I want to play, and there's no way in hell that I can stream all of them. So maybe I should just like start picking up certain games and be like, this is gonna be for me. But yeah, she's cute. If you enjoy that kind of, if whatever I just said sounds enjoyable, if you're a big fan of the, excuse me, I'm very burpy. If you're a big fan of the Digimon franchise, then this might be something that you might enjoy. So yeah. Yeah. Just do one every hour. I have thought about doing something like that. I think what I'm gonna do in the new year, I'm gonna talk about it later in more detail, but something that I sort of have planned is for me to like kind of implement some sort of deadline on specific games so that it forces me to sort of pick up my pace a little bit. Yeah, I'll get into it in more details after I'm done with the ranking, but yeah, I do plan on playing more games, and cycling through games a little quicker, and that's something that I'm gonna be sort of testing out in the new year. So more information on that later. Speaking of a game that I actually played through very quickly, The Walking Dead, the final season. I'm kind of torn between Slayful Times and I'm kind of torn between S and A ranks. So I'm just going to talk about it first and then I'll decide. So The Walking Dead, the final season, is the final season of the Walking Dead series by Telltale. So this is basically kind of like a point and click sort of vibe, where the narrative of the game is the core of the game, and it's one of those games where your actions have consequences, so you have choices that you have to make throughout, and it's sort of like a choose your own adventure kind of narrative. And this sort of wraps up that storyline, and this isn't my favorite Walking Dead game. I feel like the first one is impossible to be, I think, topped. I think that first season of the Walking Dead Telltale series was very, very special. However, I really, really enjoyed this game. There were certain moments in it that I was sort of like, I don't know, but they really hooked me, and I think I really liked for Clementine, the protagonist for this series, to have good things happen to her. So I don't want to get into too much detail, but this game I was actually sobbing by the end of this game. So I think that gives me permission to put it at the top of the ranking here with the Slayful Times. It was definitely, I mean, there's definitely a lot of slaying, quite literally, in this game, but I really loved it. The characters were very impactful. I think the problem with the Walking Dead series was that the first one was so good, the second one was good, but it wasn't as good, and then the third one was like not as good as the previous one, so it just sort of kind of descended in quality, in my opinion. And sort of and this one just sort of like brought it back to like, oh, this is good, you know what I mean? And it was also neat to kind of wrap up that storyline and to just sort of be done with that series. This I actually played during this month that I was like, I actually got a free, I won a giveaway for Game Pass. I was watching Summer of Games and I won this giveaway, which gave me 30 days of Xbox Game Pass for PC. And so I just decided to do a Game Pass month. And this is where I played The Walking Dead, I played Octopath Traveler, and I played the games that I mentioned in the beginning, BlazBlue, Guilty Gear, and the Nickelodeon All-Stars 2 games. But I didn't really mention them because I only played each for like an hour. So I just sort of rushed through them and I feel like I didn't get much of a grasp on the games. If I were to rank them, I probably would place them in like either A or B, because I just sort of like, okay, they were cute, okay, cool, like, you know, they don't really impact me that severely. But yeah, I really enjoyed the fact that I don't own The Walking Dead the final season, so it was really cool to, it's one of those games that I was like, oh, I should play that sometime. I should get that game sometime. The final season, I should play her sometime, but I just never got to it. So I was glad to do the Xbox Game Pass month so that I could kind of check that off my list and be like, okay, finished The Walking Dead. Although I still have the episode Michonne sort of spin-off that I might play at some point to really wrap up The Walking Dead Telltale, you know, series. But yes, that's The Walking Dead for you. No Sonic and Knuckles? It's right here. Sonic 3 and Knuckles. So next up we've got Octopath Traveler. I actually, looking back, I really regret picking this up because I really liked it. The problem is I don't own this game. So I played it during the Game Pass month, and I should have just picked the game that was shorter so that I could have started it and finished it. So now I'm in this sort of conundrum where I started Octopath Traveler. I really enjoyed what I played of it, but I can't finish it because I don't own the game. So because I didn't get to finish it, I don't get to say that like it's amazing or incredible or anything of the sort. So I'm gonna place it under the she's cute category just because I didn't get to play the full scope of the game. I didn't have enough time to do it. I think even if I did finish it, I don't think I would put it in the S tier, only because to me, let me explain the game a little bit. Explaining the game will actually help you understand why I didn't like 1000% love it and I wouldn't put it in the S ranks. So Octopath Traveler is a story about, as the name may suggest, it's a story about 8 different characters, 8 different travelers, if you will, who have their own storylines and things going on. My personal problem with it is that I think it's a neat concept, but it kind of throws elements that I really enjoy about a JRPG, which is the party friendships and interconnections. This game made it so that you can play as one you can play the whole game as one character, or you can unlock all different characters. And it's basically a similar experience. Like if you only want to experience one character's storyline, you can basically do it. It's probably not recommended because you probably need different characters of different styles of gameplay or different archetypes and classes in order for you to like have a wide enough team to sort of help each other in that way in combat and stuff like that. But it kind of bothered me. The separate storylines thing kind of bothered me. Although towards the end of my experience with this game, they actually had certain moments where like the characters sort of did interact. So maybe there is more to that I just didn't get to see because I didn't play enough of the game. I'm comparing it to like Persona 3 Reload, where you can really build interpersonal connections with these characters, and the game wouldn't be the same if you kept any character out. It's just built different, I guess. So that's why Octopath Traveler, as much as I can't give it a fair assessment because I didn't play it all the way through, I really enjoyed it, but I can't confidently say that I 1000% recommend it. Although if you're a fan of JRPGs and a turn-based combat, you probably would enjoy it. So yeah. Are you just misspelling Knuckles, or is this like a whole other thing that I'm missing? Because Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you can play as Knuckles, yes. I don't know if that's what you're asking. I don't know if that's a different character that you just spelled out, or I don't know. But yeah. Alrighty. Next up, we've got the next few games are the games that I actually started on YouTube after I got banned. After I got banned, I had to mention it again, of course, but so my first couple streams here on YouTube were actually Sonic the Hedgehog. I played enough of these games, period, in my life, but Sonic 1, 2, and 3 were like replays. Like, I didn't really experience any of this for the first time. It was more of like, to be truthful, I have a VODs channel for all of my, or most of my Twitch streams, to be archived in that VODs channel. And so the reason I didn't just continue business as usual was because I was still catching up on uploading all of the VODs leading up to the one where I got banned. So while that was happening, I still wanted to stream. So I wanted to do something, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna play the Sonic games that I love and just like sort of chit chat about whatever. And so that's where these games sort of come from. It's really interesting now, like, to look at them and be like, where do I rank them? So the first Sonic game, I feel like this would be a whole other video and / stream where I would like rank all the Sonic games, maybe one day. I haven't played all the Sonic games, so I can't really rank all of them, but I guess there could be a tier for like, I haven't played this. Anyways, Sonic 1, I'm gonna say she's cute. I'm gonna say it's an A. She's cute. It's the beginning of the franchise, and it's a very solid start to it. I feel like a lot of iconic things from the Sonic franchise started in 1, obviously, and the first game just like hits, like that nostalgic little goblin in my brain. Like they eat it up every time. The music is really lovely. The level design actually in the first Sonic game doesn't really encourage you to go that fast, like, you know, which kind of goes against their whole marketing sort of campaign about like him being the fastest creature alive. You're not really supposed to go that fast when you play at least the first Sonic game, but I don't really care that much about it. There are some quality of life things added to 2 and 3 that make them better games in my opinion, but the first one is just that iconic. And honestly, probably out of the 3 first Sonic games, this first Sonic game probably has my favorite special stage, because it's either that or the one from 3. We talked about this in a previous stream, but yeah. Anyways, so that's Sonic 1. Sonic 2, I really loved it. I'm kind of torn between A and S because I do think that I think just Tails being there makes it better, in my opinion, actually. The music is really juicy. I think they really, like, the music was good in the first one, but I think in the second one, they just added, like, some juiciness to it. Let's not give me, like, a play-by-play of, like, how many people are watching, please. I alluded to it in the earlier bits of the stream, but I don't really need a play-by-play. If I want to see how many people are watching, I can see it. So let's just focus on what's going on in the stream. We don't have to report on how many people are watching, okay? Anyways, so I do think that they added, I don't know, the soundtrack for the second and third games just like, I feel like they just added even more juice to it. I don't know how else to describe it. They're just like juicier and like more, I think that's when they started maybe like utilizing the Genesis like full power, and they really got into the nitty gritty of it. They just sort of leveled up the soundtracks, I feel. So I would say 2 would go to the Slayful Times category. I mean, the Spin Dash makes its debut here finally. Tails tagging along is really nice because sometimes you're doing really shit at a specific boss or a specific thing, and sometimes Tails will like get him good, and sometimes Tails will help you out. He is the worst at helping you in the special stages because sometimes he's the one who runs into shit, and he's the one who like fucks it up for everybody in the special stages. But I love Tails with all my heart, and this game is just really special. I really love it. And I have to also give Sonic 3 and Knuckles the same treatment and add it to the Slayful Times. It's just one of those things, the games kept looking better and better somehow. By the third game, one of my favorite things about the third game is that all of the levels are interconnected. It blew my mind as a kid playing Act 1 of the first level, and then the camera just pans and it starts Act 2 immediately. I was just like, what? And then the fact that at the end of like Act 2, they would like seamlessly transition into like the next area. Like, I thought that was so cool. I still think that's so cool. The special stage here is cute. I don't love it because when it gets really fast, my motion sickness is like, ooh, I don't love that. But I love all the different power-ups you can get in this one, like the water bubble or the fireball, or there's an electric one too where you can like double jump with it, which is really cool as well. Like, I just really love how they added to the already amazing games that they had built until that point. And also Knuckles makes a debut here, which is really fun. Knuckles adds like a whole other flavor to it where you can like scale walls and stuff like that. He just adds like another sort of snap to it, which is very, very nice. And it's actually something that I really love about the Sonic franchise, is when there's like multiple characters to pick from. And like, I mean, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 and Sonic Heroes are some of my favorite games because of that, because you can just sort of pick through, especially Adventure and Heroes, not so much Adventure 2, but you can sort of pick through these different characters and you can experience the game differently as them. And so I feel like Sonic 3 sort of planted that, and then Adventure just sort of ran with it, and we're like, oh, you like Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles? Okay, here's like 3 more. So love Sonic 3. Yeah, I would give it, I don't know if I would give it a 10 out of 10, but pretty up there, I would say. I'm not very good at like number rankings. Like, I have a really hard time being like, I give this one a 9 or give this one a 10 or an 8. Like, you know, I guess I'm technically ranking them out of 4 if you think about it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyways, next up is Assassin's Creed Origins. This one makes me a little sad because I started that game and I was like really into it. I thought the protagonist Bayek was really hot. He is still very hot. That hasn't changed. And I was sort of hooked from the get-go. I think the problem as I continued playing that game is that it started to feel like it was like more of the same. And it sometimes felt like I thought I was progressing, but I wasn't, and it just felt a little filler-y. And also, I don't think I resonate that amazingly with open world games. I think I get very overwhelmed by the scope of these games, and I'm gonna say it, I feel like sometimes these games are full of filler. I think an open world game oftentimes has like a bunch of filler. There's a bunch of like areas where there's like nothing happening, and these long traversal periods where you're going from point A to point B and there's like really nothing in between. And it's just sort of a big world for the sake of it being a big world. So to me, and then there's like all of these different things popping up in the map or in as you're walking through, or like a bunch of exclamation points, a bunch of things trying to grab your attention. And this game also has like a weird like monetization sort of thing where you can like spend money to like buy certain things, like, which I guess is DLC, but you know, unfortunately over the course of me playing this game, I just slowly, my love for it just slowly faded, unfortunately, and it just couldn't grab me anymore, and it made me kind of sad to uninstall it. But I do think that this game might be yet another flop. I'm torn between, you know what, I think I have to put it as a flop because this is a game I willingly dropped and don't really intend on going back to. So at least with the ones in the meh category are games that I pulled through enough to want to finish them. You know what I mean? So yeah. You heard me. You heard what I said. You heard what I said. You have a game that I might like? What game? Tabs? What is that? I've never heard of it. Alright, let me move on. As you explain all of that, let me get into the next game, Metaphor ReFantazio. I don't care that I haven't beaten it. I'm working towards it. This is a long game. It's my game of the year. Okay, it's my game of the year. I just love this game so much. I think the only small gripe I had with Persona 3 Reload was the fact that I sort of felt like I was... What's the word I want to use? Like, it just sort of felt like, okay, this is the formula for Persona games. I understand it, and there's like cute little variations here and there, but I think I get it, and I feel like it's one of those... To me, it felt a little bit like you play Persona 4, and I played Persona 3 Reload, so I feel like I understand like the experience of a Persona game. Like, it doesn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, to me, it felt like formulaic in a way. Like, not I still loved Persona 3 Reload with all my heart, but the reason I love Metaphor even more is because this game just surprises me a lot. And I think it's because sometimes with Persona 4 and Persona 3, at times I felt like they wanted to address certain topics, but they were kind of, I don't know if they were necessarily afraid of covering the topics properly, but they just didn't do it properly sometimes. Or they didn't go deep enough, or they sort of like wrapped up a storyline very quickly and just like... So to me, Metaphor was an amazing surprise because it still has like... I think it takes elements for sure from like the Persona formula. It takes stuff from that recipe, but they add like a bunch of other ingredients to it that make it such a unique experience, and also make it like, it makes it familiar enough that you're like, okay, I played Persona, I think I get the baseline of this, but also it builds upon it so fiercely. Every single connection I've made with a character in this game, I've really enjoyed it, which I can't say the same for either of the other Persona games I've played. And it's just a game that I constantly think about, and a game that constantly surprises me or adds things that intrigue me, and they kind of drip feed you things, like they don't give everything away. So it's just sort of like a game that as you slowly progress through it, they just give you more and more and more and more. I really love all the different like royal virtues, and how it's not like just courage or smartness. It's like they add things like oh my god, what's the word? It's not compassion. They add stats for oh my god, the word has escaped me. Like tolerance, I think that's the actual stat. Like they add stuff like tolerance and imagination, and things like that. So it makes it like really, really enjoyable. I love the party system, like the archetypes. I guess it's more of like a class system, with like every character being able to have any archetype, and each archetype sort of representing either stuff that you would know from an RPG, like a warrior or a mage, but also adding other stuff like the merchant, that you have to throw money at the enemies to like defeat them, or stuff like the commander, for example. And like there's probably others that I haven't unlocked yet. I know there's like a masked dancer, and there's a summoner, which, I mean, summoners are pretty common, but like I'm excited. I keep getting excited about like all the different things that I still haven't done. It's just like a really, really solid experience, and most importantly, I think it has such an interesting outlook at conversations like classism and racism and politics in general, and discrimination, and the idea of like fiction and reality, and how the two sort of can interconnect and influence one another. And it's just like really fucking cool. It's just like one of the coolest games I've ever played, and it looks amazing. It has such a unique and interesting art direction. Those menus are gorgeous to look at and to peruse through. It's just like incredible. Like it's a game that it feels almost like crafted, like not to me specifically, but it's like crafted to be like, oh, everything I love in a game is right there. Like I just love it with all my heart. So that's a slayful time for sure. That's the S-Link of all S-Links. Probably my favorite out of all the S-Links so far. So that is where I'm placing Metaphor ReFantagio. So yeah, okay, let me catch up with what you're saying. I did, I was sort of doing a tidbit. I was sort of doing a thing, explaining a thing. I can read the chat afterwards. Just so I don't constantly interrupt myself talking about different things. It's a game you create your own army versus another army you can battle. There's a sandbox too. I don't know if I mean, games with like military and stuff like that I don't really love. Can do a campaign. Like the main thing makes you think like, what guy should I place down? Yeah, I haven't heard of it, but it sort of sounds like it could be like a strategy RPG, which I actually do enjoy, but I would have to look into it for sure. Oh, I think I've heard of this game actually. Do I have this? Did I get this somewhere? On Epic or something? Yeah, this doesn't look, or I think plays how I thought it would. I don't think this would be for me, but thank you for the recommendation. I may have gotten this somewhere actually. Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I'm just gonna say this. I'm gonna say this for the last time. I don't need to be told like, oh, it's just me in here. Oh, nobody else is watching. Oh, like stuff like that, or like, oh, finally somebody else is watching, or like all this stuff. Like, it's not productive. It doesn't add anything to the table. And I've already said explicitly a couple times that I'm not interested in hearing that, and it's kind of rude to even say stuff like that to someone who's actively streaming and just like making a thing happen. So I'm just gonna say this. I will be banning if this sort of thing doesn't stop happening. So yeah, I don't need a play-by-play of how many people are watching. I don't need this sort of like constant thing of like, yeah, I'm the only person here, or I think I got my point across. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say, and it's the last time I'll say something like this before I hit the ban button. So next up, there is Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. Unfortunately, it's a flop from me. So this game is a narrative-driven game, which I love. And it's a game that involves making decisions, and it, I think, has branching paths. I wasn't really told that specifically or explicitly, but it seems like that's how it was. You could sort of like choose your own adventure a little bit. And that part I really enjoyed. So this is about like ancient gods living amongst us and them sort of struggling with living in modern society, but it's mostly a murder mystery because our main character, Grace, I want to say, gets picked by Calliope. As Calliope is killed, she bestows upon Grace not her soul. They have a specific name for it, but she picks Grace as her successor. And so she basically gets not framed, but accused of killing Calliope. And they were like, she obviously did it. Why would she pick her? Like, they don't even know each other, or like they barely knew each other. Like, what's up with that? So it ends up being an interesting narrative as far as like the murder mystery of it all, which ended up like towards like middle of to the end of the game, you sort of understand what's going on, so it's not really much of a shock once you start piecing things together. My issue with it, and the thing that I thought was going to be my favorite part of this game, was the musical part of it. I love a musical. I did not care for the music in this. I didn't care for a lot of the vocal performances, and I didn't care for a lot of the music, or for some of the music. Some of it was really cool. I did enjoy the fact that mid-song, you sort of made a decision on what direction you wanted to go with, and sort of the song, I assume they had like at least 2 or 3 different variations of the song that they could go with depending on what choice you make at that specific point. But sometimes the singing wasn't doing it for me. Sometimes the music itself wasn't doing it for me, like the specific track. Conceptually, I think is really cool. Like the idea of like, you know, you're confronting like Persephone, and you get to meet I can't remember literally any of the other names, like Hermes, and you get to interact with Apollo and like all these different characters. I think it's really cool conceptually, and I love the idea of a video game musical, but this one just like didn't hit. And again, I'm very forgiving with a musical, especially. Like, I love a musical, but this one just didn't do it for me. And I know I'm not really in the majority with this, because I've looked at it later and I ended up seeing like a lot of favorable reviews and stuff like that for it. So it's probably more of a me issue, or just like my personal taste wasn't fulfilled, or I don't know what it was. Or maybe I'm like so into musicals that I couldn't look past like certain things that I was like, oh, that wasn't as cool as it could have been, or like that didn't sound as good as it could have. But yeah, unfortunately, Stray Gods, the role-playing musical, is a flop from me in it. Yeah, it has an Among Us. Well, it's not really Among Us. In Among Us, I was thinking of another game when you said Among Us. In Among Us, you're the killer, or you're either the killer. It's a multiplayer game. You're the killer, and you have to like lie, or you're not the killer and you have to find the killer. This one is just a narrative where you have to find who did it. Like, you didn't do it for sure. It's more conceptually, it's closer to the video game called The Wolf Among Us, which is the game I thought of when you said Among Us, because in The Wolf Among Us, it's a murder mystery, but it's with like fairy tale characters. So you get to meet like Snow White and others. So that for me was like really cool. This one had the ancient Greek vibes that was really cool, but I didn't love the singing and sometimes the music. So yeah. Hey Cash, ding dong. Yeah, you love the concept, but the notes weren't hitting. Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly how I feel. Yeah, you came in just in time for the last couple game rankings here. Next up is another, well, this is probably the biggest unpopular opinion out of this bunch. Oh, okay. That's an interesting joke. I mean, you can go if you want. Like, I'm not forcing you to be here. Anyways, this is an unpopular opinion. I know it. I understand. But Infinity Nikki, to me, I played it for one stream, 4 whole hours, and by the end of those 4 hours, I was kind of hateful towards this game. I feel like this game was like so hyped up for me. You tell me that it's like a dress-up game and like an open world sort of moment, which, you know, immediately open world to me is a red flag because open world games overwhelm me. But I was like, okay, dress-up vibes. There's a gacha, which there's another red flag. I don't really love a gacha situation, but I was like, you know, but it's clothes. Like maybe, you know, whatever I get, I can make something cute out of it. But I just had so many issues with it, such as technical issues. Like the optimization for that game was not good. Just like genuinely like not good. There was a lot of stuttering, a lot of loading issues, a lot of like, it just like, technically it just wasn't optimized amazingly. My other thing is that to me, the characters in this game, there was like a bland quality to a lot of the visuals in this game. To me, it felt like the world itself felt like I've been there, done that kind of thing. The outfits were gorgeous. I will say that. Like a lot of the outfits, a lot of the clothes were really cute, really gorgeous. The canvas though, Miss Nikki herself to me, she felt like so bland as a character. And as like, she had no facial expressions. She was like gorgeous, but she was like a husk of a doll. Like she had no personality. She had like no facial expressions, no sort of life to her, which I don't know if it was intentional for her to be more of like a doll, but I just didn't really appreciate the fact that to me it just felt like so lifeless and felt like there was like no, I mean, I could be completely wrong, and this is just my perception of this game, but to me, it just felt like there was like such a lack of personality to this game. And it also felt like there was like not that much to do. Like I felt like a lot of the gameplay was just like walking around looking pretty and like, oh, jumping. But like even the jumping animations weren't that interesting or exciting. And a couple of the like the parkour moments that you sort of have to do wasn't also that interesting. So the game just like didn't grab me the way that I really wish it did. Like I didn't go into this being like, oh, I'm gonna be a hater. Like I was alarmed by a couple of the red flags, like the open world and the gacha, but it just didn't resonate with me, and it felt like I felt so betrayed. Because it was a game that's like so hyped up, and I still see it on my timeline sometimes, people being like, oh my god, look at this outfit that I like, oh my god, this game is so gorgeous, like whatever. And I'm just sort of like, am I the only person that sees that like the main character has like no life behind her eyes, and she's like, you know what I mean, like it just feels so like void of personality and so dull in a way. Like I feel like I would enjoy this game so much more if it had more of a whimsical vibe to it. And if the art style wasn't just like pretty gorgeous, like, you know what I mean? I would have loved if it was maybe more cartoony, or maybe if it was like, I don't know, if it was more of literally anything. It was giving bland. It was giving bland for sure. So I'm actually kind of torn between meh and flops, but I just ranted so fiercely about it that I think it has to be a flop. Because I feel like when a game is giving meh, you just sort of don't have much to say about it. And I feel like I had a lot to say about it. So she's gonna be a flop from me. And now the last one is Sonic CD. This is actually a game that actually changed my mind a bit about it. So at first, this game isn't really, if you don't read the manual, this game doesn't really explain what's going on. So this is a Sonic game, classic Sonic 2D side scrolling, but the levels are more explorable zones. They don't really tell you this. You think, like, if you just play this as a normal Sonic game, you just go like from left to right, you complete the level, and then that's it, and then you get a bad ending. What you're really supposed to do is you're supposed to either go to the past. There's time traveling in this, essentially. So there's these little signs that you run past, and then you have to maintain a certain level of speed for a certain amount of time, for a certain amount of distance, in order for you to time travel to either the past or the future. So what you have to do is you either go to the past, destroy these sort of like generator things, and then you get a good ending, or you have to get more than 50 rings in any timeline and collect these like time stones or whatever. My big thing about this game was that on a first playthrough, you're just sort of like, what's going on? How do I, like, it's not really super clear what you're looking for and what you really need to do. So I ended up just like going from doing a blend of like trying to get the special stages or trying to fix the past to just like, okay, I'm just gonna finish the game as is, and then we'll see how I feel. And then once I did that, it was actually a pretty decent Sonic game. But then after I did it, I still had a couple hours of stream left, so I was like, I guess I'll just replay it as Tails, because in the version I've played the Steam version that has since gotten delisted from Sonic Origins happening. But in this version, you play as only Sonic and then you unlock Tails, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna fuck around and play as Tails a little bit. And maybe I'll get a few good ending or a few good timelines or whatever. And so the game just sort of opened up, and it became so much more enjoyable when I just sort of took my time with it a little bit and just sort of like, I think with Tails was also a little easier to like traverse through a level because he can just like fly to certain places and stuff. So the experience was a little bit more enjoyable as Tails. It's still not my favorite Sonic game conceptually and otherwise. It has some bangers on that soundtrack though, I will say. But honestly, she's cute. Honestly, I thought initially I was gonna give it a B, but she eventually became an A, to the point where I'm considering finishing a playthrough in which I give it a good ending overall, and I try to fix the past in every single stage. So yeah, she was cute. She won me over. I think specifically Tails. Also, I learned that the version of the game that I played was faster than it's supposed to. So I don't know how that happened. But so there's that. Also, there's wonderful animated cutscenes that need to be addressed because they were lovely. So yeah. So that's it for my rankings of the games that I've played in 2024. We've got our Slayful Times, S Tier, Persona 3 Reload, Fuser, The Walking Dead, The Final Season, Sonic 2 and 3, and Knuckles, and Metaphor ReFantagio. Then we've got the games that were cute, A Tier, games that I would recommend and that I would definitely say that I've enjoyed, like Uncharted 2, Shenmue, Resident Evil 0, Digimon World Next Order, Octopath Traveler, Sonic 1, and Sonic CD. And then there are a couple ones that didn't really... They hit the meh category, let's just say that. They weren't really like highlights or lowlights, I guess. So both Tomb Raiders that I played this year fit that category. Tomb Raider 3 and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And then we've hit the flops category, which are games that I didn't love, didn't like. Some of them I even dropped, like Sonic Lost World, Assassin's Creed Origins, Stray Gods, the role-playing musical, and Infinity Nikki. So those were all, I think, 18 or 19 games that I've played this year. Some of these I played earlier in the year on Twitch. Some of these I played later in the year here on YouTube. I am very excited to jump into a new year and all of the games being games that I started and finished here on YouTube. So I hope that you're looking forward to that. I think one general thing that I want to say about every game that I've played this year, or the amount of games that I've played even, is that I definitely want to play more games next year. I think this format that I've been doing of like specific game like only once or twice a week isn't really cutting it. And I think I'm very interested, and I was talking about this, I teased it a little bit earlier, and I did talk about it in more detail in the Ko-Fi video for the month of December that is out now, which you can enjoy if you support me on Ko-Fi, either as with a one-off tip or a monthly sub. But I want to talk about it here as well. So I played a lot of games. Last year I played a lot of games, but I didn't finish most of them. And so I went into this year wanting to finish more games. I think I definitely did finish more games. I would say a lot of these games I finished. Some of these I didn't, but a lot of them I did actually. So I think, you know, like as far as like the percentage goes, I feel like it was way more successful. But I do think that in the next year, I would love to play more games and sort of get to a little bit of a quicker pace between like changing games. Like I'm not loving, for example, with Metaphor ReFantazio, I don't really love that I'm playing it like only once or twice a week and that the game is sort of extending over such a long period of time. Like with Persona, I started in like March and I finished it like October or November. So I definitely don't want something like that again to happen. So I do think that I'm going to make some changes to the way that I present these formats, and like, you know, maybe giving myself a little bit of a deadline for some games, or for some games, like, for example, I've been thinking of doing something that I did once on Twitch where I challenged myself to play 3 Yakuza games under 2 weeks, because at the time I had Game Pass, and the first 3 Yakuza games were gonna leave Game Pass at the end of that month, and I had 15 days to play them, or 14 days to play them. And so I was like, oh my god, I have to get into this series. I have to start this series right now, because I at the time I hadn't played any Yakuza games, and I was like, oh my god, I need to play them. So I played Yakuza 0 in 1 week, and I played Kiwami 1 and Kiwami 2 in the 2nd week. And it was one of my favorite experiences as far as like Twitch streams goes, because it was like a marathon. Like I streamed every single day until I was done with those games. The streams ended up being like 5-ish hours each time. Some streams were longer than others, because I was like, if I'm going to stream every day, I can't do a long stream every single day. So, but I thought about bringing something like that back, where it's like I pick up Metaphor and I'm like, okay, y'all, we're doing a marathon. I'm streaming this every day until I beat it. And it's like a 2-week sort of moment, and I beat it within 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So it's not like this game sort of looms over the stream for the course of like a few months. You know what I mean? Or like several weeks. Just so for me to like get more games in, but also for me to experience more things and to not have these things looming over me in the background. So I definitely want to bring a little bit of a quicker pace, not necessarily rushing. I don't want to rush through any games, but just to kind of like, okay, let's keep on moving, let's keep on going, and let's have some sort of like pep to our step, you know? Especially with like some of the longer games, because sometimes I overthink it and I'm like, oh my god, I need to do this perfectly, or I need to experience everything. And one thing that I thought was really cool about, again, that Yakuza experience that I did was that I left those games wanting to play more of them on my own. And I think that's something that I can sort of reclaim into my life as well. Like, you know, for Yakuza 0, for example, I played it over the course of like a full like 7 days. And I really loved it. And I was like, I felt like I got a little bit of the mini games and I got a couple of the side quests, but I was like, oh my god, I would love to like replay this at some point on my own time, to like really play like all of the different side quests and all the different things. And I think it can be something for me to look forward to on my own, rather than it being a thing where like, you know, like me being on stream and like talking to every single NPC and like doing every single side quest. And you know, like I think sometimes from a streaming perspective, and I think maybe even y'all can probably what's the word? Y'all can probably sort of confirm or deny this from the viewer's perspective. It's probably more interesting as a viewer to like seem like things are moving, right? Rather than like things taking too long to move, or spending too much time doing a specific thing, or spending too much time in a specific game. So I really want to like quicken up the pace a little bit with stuff like that, because I still want to play these longer games because I love a JRPG, but I also think realistically, for a stream sort of scenario, I think people don't love when, and even like as, because these streams live on as videos, I don't think people love when a specific thing is like 27 parts long, you know what I mean? So I'm thinking a little bit about that, and how, you know, I can have moments where like, okay, I'm gonna pick up this RPG and I'm gonna marathon it. I'm gonna stream it like maybe 5-ish hours a day, and it's gonna be an everyday sort of thing. And it can be sort of an event because I'm doing it every day. And then after I'm done with that game, maybe I take a few days off, and then we sprinkle in like games that only take me like a couple streams to beat. And then, you know, we do another RPG, or we do another game that's a little longer, you know? So that's kind of what I'm thinking for next year, for us to like have even more games be featured and a little bit more of a variety, an extra added variety of things to do on stream, you know what I mean? On top of like maybe other non-gaming things as well. So yeah, definitely let me know how that sounds to y'all. But yeah, we are like halfway through the stream and I've already done the ranking, so I'm gonna take a little break, and in the second half of today's stream we're gonna do a little bit more of a reflection upon this past year, maybe any New Year's goals or resolutions that we may have and we want to share with one another. And I could even share with y'all games that I really want to play. Maybe I can tease some ideas that I have for the new year. So stay tuned, go grab a snack, go grab a drink. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you after a very, very short break. Ooh. Welcome back. Should I include my ranking like somewhere like on screen so that if anyone wants to if anyone clicks on the stream they know what I've done? Actually, that's not a terrible idea. It might be too small though for people to really see the ranking. Because I already closed that browser window. So I could like, oh yeah, that might be a little, that does cover me up a little bit. Anyways, I'm not gonna do that. Okay, sorry, my nose is itchy. I can't help it. I can't help it, I'm gay. Just gonna say that for anything, even if it doesn't, you know, have anything to do with anything. I had nose surgery this year, okay? I'm allowed to poke my nose sometimes. I'm not picking my nose, I promise. It just gets dry and itchy sometimes. Anyways, hi. Welcome back. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here and for waiting so long for for me to come back from my break where I was eating a cereal bar. Very riveting. I know. So riveting. But anyways, I am back. And after excuse me, after ranking the games that I've played this year, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I just realized that I didn't really talk too much about my New Year's goals on the Ko-Fi video. Just sort of hit me. I guess I can talk about that in the next one or something. Okay, anyways, hello. Hi, Messy Betsy. You know what? In order for people to feel included, should I shift to the scene? Wait, can I maybe? No, I can't just like bring that back. Okay. Well, okay. Anyways, I'll just be on this screen. I'll post it on my socials later. My rankings. But hi, Messy Betsy. Welcome on in. You're not late. You're just in time. You're just in time. Well, I already did the rankings, if that's what you mean. If that's what you mean. Yeah, I did already do the rankings. Yes. So that did happen. That did happen already. But yeah, well, welcome on in. I'm going to be talking for this section. I'm going to be talking about like the channel, reflecting a little bit on this year, and then stuff that I want to do next year and stuff like that. So you can sort of add in your own takes, opinions, and thoughts and feelings and concerns. First, let me read some stuff that y'all said before I went on break that I just was ranting so much I didn't get to. So yes, I do know Tails is like 8 years old. He's a precious child. I wish I was here for all of them. Aw, Cash. I mean, the beauty of it is that the VODs are always still up, whether it's here or the old VODs channel with the Twitch stuff on there. The cool thing is that you're here for whatever's coming next. You know what I mean? So that's nice. Bayek was fine, but what you said about open world is so me. I get overwhelmed. Give me the main storyline. Yeah. I think the problem was that the game was starting to get a little formulaic for me, where it was like, it was the same structure for every story beat. So to me, it ended up feeling like, okay, the location changed, but it's basically a very similar thing over and over again. So I just didn't feel as like engaged in it anymore. So yeah. Yes. Not Project UB. Who's Project UB? It's cool. I know PlayStation Demo Disc 28 was S tier. Could you imagine if I ranked every demo disc? That would be painful. That would be so painful to do. But no, I did not rank those. No. I guess I could ask y'all, what was your favorite game of this year, or your favorite games from this year, or not even from this year, your favorite games that you've played this year? It doesn't have to be games that just came out this year, because if I were to go by that logic, I only really played I mostly played demos of games that came out this year, and then Persona 3 Reload and Metaphor. So yeah, you don't have to say like a game that came out this year. Persona 3 Reload was really good. I did rank it A tier for sure. I really did love that game. So as a further reflection upon this year, I think generally speaking, I think this was a good year as far as like I got to experience, in comparison to last year, I got to experience more games all the way through than I did last year, because last year I would do a lot of streams where it was like a one-off game, and then I would sort of drop it and move on to the next thing, and it was all like very quick, or like maybe too quick, and I would get overly worried and concerned about like how specific games were performing and stuff like that. And so I try not to bring that energy too much to this sort of YouTube chapter, especially because I've only been really doing this on YouTube with the streams for like 3 months. So it feels a little unfair for me to judge my progress or my adventure or journey or whatever you want to call it here based off of like what was going on Twitch, or you know, comparing the two or whatever the case may be. So I'm very much looking forward to like leveling up the channel though as time goes by, because especially now I feel like I've done a full quarter of streams here, that now I can be like, okay, what is something that I want to bring to the table in the coming year, and starting in January with like a new quarter of a new year. There's definitely a ton of games that I want to play. I think the beginning of the year, the way that I'm envisioning it for the streams, it will be tying up like loose ends. It will be like finishing Metaphor ReFantazio, finishing Sonic CD with a good ending, and then maybe picking up games that I started and didn't finish from like previous streams on Twitch, like stuff like Yakuza 4 or like Ni no Kuni, or like things like that I started but never finished because I got, not because I didn't like the games, but because I got like, you know, overthinking over like how the statistics were doing and analytics and all that shit, but also bringing like new stuff to the table. Like I really want to play the Devil May Cry series. I want to play Uncharted 3, and like continuing some of the games that I streamed this year, like Shenmue. I want to play Shenmue 2. I want to play Uncharted 3. I want to play probably more Tomb Raider games to see how I feel about future iterations of Tomb Raider as well, or like I guess remasters, or you know, whatever versions I have of Tomb Raider games that came after 3 like Anniversary and Angel of Darkness and all that stuff. I'm really interested in stuff like that, starting new games, starting new playthroughs, like the Final Fantasy franchise, and how much I grew up with it, but how many games from it that I still haven't finished, or I still haven't like properly given them like a proper like playthrough, you know? So I'm really excited for a lot of that too, on top of like other things that you will know of when the year starts. Yeah, that would be madness. You picked up Tales of Zestiria. Ooh, after half a decade, and now you're hyper focused on it. Ooh. Tales of Zestiria is a game that I picked up a couple times. One time I tried for a Let's Play, and one time for a stream, and it's just a game that I ended up like not continuing for some reason. I might pick it back up again at some point. Oh, Backlog's Drag Race. Those were cute. I do, as much as I had fun with that, I definitely, in the new year, I definitely want to have more control over the stuff that I play. I definitely want to be more, because I feel like over the years, I have like tried different methods to sort of like, I don't know why, like to avoid having to make a decision, or to like be afraid of like picking the wrong thing or whatever. So I would do like polls and people would vote, or I would do like a, Backlogs Drag Race where everything is like randomized and I don't really make a choice. And I feel like in the new year, I definitely want to have more control. Like I want to insert, like I actually want to be able to say that like I picked this game. If it flops, it flops. If it does great, it does great. But it was my decision to play it. It was my decision to pick it up. It's something that like called to me. It was something that I was excited about doing. It was whatever, you know what I mean? So I may be retiring Backlogs Drag Race in the new year. I already played Bayonetta. I already played Bayonetta. I still have it. Obviously, Bayonetta 1 on Steam. I've never played 2 and 3, but yeah. Maybe one day I'll play 2. In Tales of Zestiria, I turn everybody on auto besides boss fights. I get up and do something. Oh my god. I hate auto battling in a game. I hate it. I don't know if it's too much of a control freak thing, but yeah, I understand why people do it, but it doesn't work for me. Oh my god, it was so long ago, Cash. It was so long ago. It wasn't this year. I played it a few years ago. It's on my VODs channel somewhere. But I played it in like, I want to say maybe 2017 or 2018, something along those lines. I just got it like on sale at some point on Steam. Yeah. It's a very long time ago. I've been streaming for a while. I've been streaming for like 8 years. Yeah, 8 years, yeah. It'll be 10 in 2026. If I'm still streaming by then, who knows? If the AI hasn't taken over the internet fully and kicked all the humans out for some reason or something, I don't know. But yeah. I recently I've been sort of struggling with how, well, it's always been sort of a thing, but I've always had an issue with like how to package what I do, because I feel like at a base score, I think I'm an okay streamer. I think I have some fun moments. I have some funny moments, and I think I don't know. I think I can make a lot of things work, and I think I'm an okay streamer. But sometimes I wonder like what I can do to make what I do more palatable or more clickable or like more enjoyable for people to want to get into the, our community and want to be a part of it and stuff like that. So I think the new year is also going to mark a little bit of a like experimentation with like how I package things, and as far as like titles, thumbnails, and like the way that I go about playing a game. Like I said, like maybe for longer games, I sort of challenge myself to do kind of like a marathon where I stream every day until I beat that game. Because yeah, it's tricky. I talked about this a little bit on the Ko-Fi video, but sometimes it's tricky when I scroll through my YouTube, for example, and like the people that show up on my recommended are people who like they either never play like a JRPG, or if they do, it's like, oh, I'm streaming non-stop until I beat this game. And so like they play Final Fantasy like 7 and they end up doing like a 40-something hour stream. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not really the kind of thing that I love. but maybe I can sort of adapt that sort of thing in my own way to make sure that, like I said, I was saying before the break, like I don't have a game looming over my channel for like a few months, right? And I can just sort of like enjoy a game, but still package it and deliver it to y'all watching in a way that's more fun, in a way that's more maybe enjoyable, or like at a pace that is more acceptable. Maybe because yeah, I don't it's interesting because and maybe I'm in the wrong for thinking that. Maybe I should look for people who make stuff like the stuff that I do and see how they do it, and try to sort of like not necessarily copy them or replicate them, but sort of like see what works for them and try to adapt my stuff to make sense in that direction. Because as much as like obviously I do this because I love it, nobody does something for almost 10 years because they're forced, I guess, you know. But no, you know, I wouldn't do something that I don't really make money off of for like about 10 years if I don't really love it, right? But it's like, you know, you also want to see the work that you put in get some return, you know? You want to see the effort that you put into something, see some sort of fruits from that labor, I guess, you know? So it's not that I'm not thankful for the support that I do get, but obviously you want to keep growing and evolving. And so for me, I still haven't really figured it all out as far as like all I want to do and all the things and how I'm going to do it all, but I do have a couple of ideas, like that thing that I said with the marathon streams, for example, or like just like genuinely trying new things as well, like having a stream where like maybe I take an autism test or something, and those types of things that aren't necessarily gaming specific. I just thought of that because I just saw a clip of somebody, I just saw like an edited tidbit of somebody doing that, and maybe that's also a thing that I should, let me rephrase that, and that's definitely something that I want to do in the new year. Like I want to make a bigger effort into like taking clips out of the streams, or making a stream into like a video that's like, you know, less than an hour long, so that people who can't come to all the streams or they don't want to watch the streams, they can have something that they can reference, where it's like, oh, I can get, you know, kind of like a highlight reel of their experience playing this game, and instead of having to watch like 28 parts of that playthrough, I can just watch like an hour video, a video that's like an hour long or less, that will give me sort of like the gist of what they experienced, or the best moments, or whatever the case may be, or a more watchable experience. You know, I don't know if a lot of this really resonates or makes sense to just like spew out to y'all as an audience, but I'm just keeping it real, and I'm just sort of, I guess I'm saying all of this to say that I'm sort of giving you a heads up of like things may like shift and things will change and shift, and I'll be trying some stuff out in the new year, and we're gonna see what works and what doesn't. I'm without saying too much, I'm gonna be putting a lot more effort into like short form stuff as well, so definitely be on the lookout for that, starting January 1st. But yeah, like if I played, how many games did I play this year? Like 18 games. I would love for next year to say that I've played like more than, I mean, at least 30. I am kind of tempted. I have been tempted to, I've always sort of had this idea, and I don't know if I'll ever do it. and it's probably been done before, so I don't know if it would even be that exciting to watch or whatever. But I've sort of had this bug, this sort of idea for the longest time, and my friends were always like, "Don't do it, girl. This is gonna be bad." But I've always sort of had this little like gremlin in the corner of my brain being like, what if you stream every single day for a year, and every single day that you stream you play something different? So I've had that, like a true like variety year where like every single day I play like a different game. Unfortunately, I think that format would suffer from like I love an RPG. So like I wouldn't be able to like truly get into like Metaphor, for example, if like I only streamed it for a stream and then I dropped it and played something else, you know. There's probably some games that would benefit from that, but yeah, I don't know how that would really work out, especially like I would definitely get burnt out, and definitely and yeah, it would be very tricky to also live a life whilst streaming every single day for a whole year. So, but I've thought about like maybe instead of doing that, maybe I can still challenge myself to play 365 games in a year. Not necessarily beat 365 games, but you know what I mean? Like to maybe have like a stream where I play through a bunch of games in one sitting. And Sebastian said it earlier, kind of as a joke, but I was kind of like, that could also be something that I do where like, I could have like streams where I pick up certain games for like 20 to 30 minutes each, and I pick up like a bunch of games and I play it for like 20 to 30 minutes and just sort of get like a little bit of the gist for those games and be like, okay, do I want to actually play these games, or am I just going to get a little glimpse of those? Because I also sort of see other people doing that, and other creators do that kind of stuff, where I've seen actually a couple people do a video concept. Well, it's more of a stream, but they turn into a video where they like play games that were sent to their emails by like random like devs and stuff like that, and they sort of dedicate like 20-ish minutes to each game, and they sort of like rank them each or something like that. So I'm also trying to keep an eye out for kind of like things that other people are doing that could inspire me to like change things up a little bit in my own channel, not necessarily to copy anybody and to do anything that has been overly done or whatever, or just like done too much. It's tricky to say, like, I don't want to do something that's been done before, because I feel like it's not that everything has been done before, but a lot of things have been done before. So, you know, it wouldn't necessarily be a terrible thing to like do a similar concept or the same concept in my own way of like that somebody else has done, but you know what I mean. I think you understand what I mean. I don't need to like overly explain that. But yeah. So those were a couple things that I wanted to say about like things that I would love to do in the new year, or maybe like try and stuff like that, just so you get an idea of kind of what you can expect. I would love to, I don't know, this might be a little self-indulgent, but I would love to know like what kind of stuff that y'all have enjoyed seeing from me. I know I can obviously look at like, oh, what streams have the most views and stuff like that, and I can sort of draw sort of something from there to be like, okay, they really loved, a lot of people watched these streams, so maybe I'll do more stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I get curious about stuff like that. So yeah, or if you have any thoughts about anything in particular that I just mentioned, like that I would maybe be willing to try in the new year or something like that, to kind of give your 2 cents on what you think about those ideas or those concepts or whatever. But yeah, I'm excited. Like on a personal basis, this year has been very interesting, because I feel like it's been a year of like a lot of changes. I talked about it in more detail in the Ko-Fi video. I keep referring back to it. I'm sorry, but you know, it is what it is. But it's been a year of like unexpected change in like certain aspects, obviously with like me coming to YouTube being one of them, or probably one of the major ones, I guess. But yeah, it's I feel like this like latter half of the year has also sort of set up kind of like a baseline for things that I want or don't want to do in the new year, and like certain, you know what I mean? Like as far as like in real life things, as far as like personal things, as far as like stream things, like finding things that like, okay, this thing didn't really work, or I didn't really like when I did this or did that. So I'm looking forward to the new year. I think, especially in a month from now, later in the month of January, I'll have my first psychiatrist appointment, so I'm very excited about that as well. I think it's gonna be like a real, I keep talking about this, I know. If you're a regular, you probably heard me spewing, like talking about this so much, but it is true. Like I'm very excited for that in the very early stages of the year, to immediately sort of kick off this sort of like new level of self-discovery in a way, and sort of like really addressing sort of like, not necessarily, I don't know if I would say like problem areas, but sort of, kind of, sort of, and sort of like adapt and change and evolve from there, and just sort of improve on a personal level rather than like on a content level and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the new year, and I do have some goals that I did write down. I don't know if I want to necessarily talk about them on stream, but I did write some stuff down, not necessarily like New Year's resolutions, but like more of like things that I really want to like, more like actionable things, right? Like working out with as much frequency as I have been, and like stuff like that, you know, or like learning a new thing. And I actually like barely started learning a new thing recently, and it's so overwhelming, but it's like something that I've always wanted to do, and something that I really want to do moving into 2025. And yeah, I would love to. I think I'll end up talking about more things in detail throughout the year. You'll understand more throughout the year, but yeah. Favorite content is blind plays on retro stuff. That's why I pop into the demo discs. Yeah. I love a retro. I even considered like changing or even creating a channel under the name of like Retro Ruby or something like that, where it would be like, I have thought about fully dedicating myself to like retro games, but then that would leave out so many modern games that I want to play, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know how I would handle that. But I understand what you mean, because I also love a retro stream and retro themed like videos and things like that. So are resolutions a thing in Portuguese culture? I guess they're a thing in every culture, no? Like I don't think it's a specific thing to Portugal or anything like that. I think it's just like a thing that everyone, I think a lot of people do. Like yeah, it's not a culturally relevant thing for Portugal. It's like a more of like a people thing, yeah? Like a lot of people are like, you know, in the new year I want to go to the gym more, or that's why a lot of people like buy gym subscriptions, I guess you could say, memberships, that's the word. gym memberships in January and then there's a drop off over the year. And some people buy memberships in January and they pay for it all year and they only go in January. It's like a whole thing. But anyways, yeah, like I think it's just like a general people sort of thing with resolutions. I think one thing that's maybe culturally relevant as far as that is like in the new year, some people, when like counting down to the new year, or like when, I guess it varies depending on the region or the person, because there's a lot of Portugal has a lot of different sort of like or the people of Portugal have a lot of different superstitions, and a lot of different superstitions that are based off of just random things and traditions that come from like various locations in the country. And so there's not really like a one thing that everyone does sort of thing. Like there's just like, it's kind of scattered across, like people do different things depending on where they're from or like how their parents raised them and stuff like that. So two people can be from the same area and have completely different traditions for like a specific holiday or something. But anyways, so some people do a thing where they eat 12 prunes. And some people do it where they make a wish for each, or a resolution or a wish for each prune that they eat, or raisin or whatever. So they do that. Shit out the old year. Yes. It's funny you say that because I just watched a TikTok that was like, make sure to poop on the 31st so that you don't go into the new year with your old shit. Very silly, very, very silly. But yeah, some people do that, where they like make a wish for like 12 things that they eat. I try to make one wish sometimes, or I just like think of something really fierce. Or one thing that I did one year that actually it kind of worked out really well was like the last full moon of December or something like that. I wrote on a journal like a bunch of things that I wanted to do, or like my resolutions / goals, things that I wanted to manifest, I guess. And I left the journal open like overnight as like the full moon was a thing. And I think that was the year where like some pretty cool things happened actually for me personally. So you know, maybe there's something to that. But yeah, shit out the old year. Oh. But I have seriously considered doing retro stuff only, and then like whatever games are modern, I would just play them on my own. And it would sort of be a way for me to reclaim gaming as a hobby, because I would be like, well, I can't stream that game because it's modern. Or I could have like exceptions where like if we hit a certain goal, like if I hit a certain Ko-Fi goal or something, I do a playthrough of a modern game or something. I don't know. As like a little treat or something. Tales of Zestiria literally blocks all recording on PS5. Really? That's hateful. I know there's some games that did that on PS4 too. Like I know some games, that's why well, it's not why, but that's something like I was thankful for having like a capture card to like kind of record the gameplay over that anyways, because there's like some games I remember on PS4 that like the cutscenes would be cut off from recording, and I'd be like, what the fuck? So like thankfully having the capture card made it so that people could still see that. But yeah, it's weird that they do that. I don't know why they do that. That's why you're playing it instead of recording it. Yeah. Well, that's good. Like it's good to have like it's good to have like off stream games that you really enjoy, because sometimes something that I really struggle with is like playing a good game off stream. Because oftentimes I'm like, I don't know if this would be a good stream game, and chances are it's probably not a good game in general if I don't think it's going to be a good stream game. Yeah, because I trust and believe over these last 10 years, I've had so many games that I've picked up on my own that I was like, I wish I was recording that, or I wish I record, because sometimes I'm playing a game off stream and I'm like gagged by something and I'm like, oh my god, this would have been a fierce moment on stream. But like, you know, it is what it is. I think it's important to have those games though. I say as I've been playing Midnight Suns, like Marvel Midnight Suns, because I'm not gonna endorse Marvel on stream, and I got that game for free, but I don't want to have to like explain that if I were to stream it, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I'll just play it on my own. But what are do y'all have any like New Year's resolutions or anything like that? I think for mine, I guess without like getting too much into details, like taking care of like physical and mental health more fiercely for me, specifically like mental health, trying to have a better balance at like doing more things for me, as well as like, you know, just like having outings on my own, and like maybe even venture out and like try to be perceived in a romantic manner or something like that. You know, just like little things where I put in a certain amount of work to do those things, like with like doing a certain amount of videos per week, or you know, a certain amount of streams, or allowing myself to like take time to like learn a new skill, or to get into a hobby for like no other reason than to like just have fun or to do something creative or whatever. I think a big one for me too is I know it sounds a little corny, but like staying more mindful through journaling, because when I journal, I feel so good. Sometimes it doesn't feel great, because sometimes when you're journaling, you're actually writing out your thoughts, and you sort of have to address the things that you are thinking and the feelings that you're feeling. But I had like maybe over a week period where I didn't journal, and I felt like my brain was so cluttered and it was so like overwhelmed with things. And the other day, I think maybe Saturday, it's hard to keep track of days. What day is it? Today's Monday. Maybe it was Friday or Saturday or something like that, or maybe Thursday, I don't know. I had a day where I was like, I'm not streaming today. I spent like an hour like journaling. I was like typing up a bunch of shit, for like an hour. And then I needed a whole hour to like recover. Like, I'm not even joking. It's not like I was crying or sobbing or anything, but I just like wrote out all of my like everything that I was overthinking, everything that was in my brain. I just dumped it out on this like notepad. And then afterwards, I just felt like, I was like, oh my god, my brain is empty right now. Like, I felt like I needed a moment to like recover from like dumping all of that out. You know what I mean? Like a really good shit. You know what I mean? It was just sort of like, wow. And it brings me so much more clarity, because I can sort of like by typing out a lot of my doubts or things that are in my brain, I can sort of come to a conclusion as I'm typing them. I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Actually, no, yeah, you know what I mean? So yeah, journaling is something that I want to do, if not every day, like definitely like every other day or something, to like check in and be like, hey girl, what do you got? And just sort of dumping all this shit on like a piece of paper or like a notepad or something. Definitely recommend. You're doing the full body glow up experience, skin, teeth, hair routines, losing weight, reading more, audiobooks, restarting school. Nice. Traveling to maybe a booting. Yes. Shit out the new year. The paper is brown. Not you wiping on the journal. That's not what journaling is, mama. It may be tempting, but that's not what you do with the journal. No, but I feel that, Cash. Like a mental and physical glow up, not in a way, to me specifically, not in a way where it's like I focus on specific things like hitting a certain weight or hitting a certain whatever, but just sort of putting in that effort to be like, okay, let me schedule a dentist appointment, let me schedule a psychiatrist appointment, okay, let me, you know, make sure to schedule like a hair appointment every so often, you know what I mean? Like little things like that where, well, sometimes big things like that, they can feel like a big deal sometimes, where, and they can certainly, your wallet definitely certainly feels the weight of those things. But yeah, just like caring for myself and yeah, absolutely making choices that are better for you. Like instead of mindlessly scrolling again, like maybe let me pick up a book. You know, maybe instead of I don't know, overthinking for 2 hours about something specific, maybe I journal for that period of time and I get those thoughts out of my head. Not necessarily out of my head, just like from my head into something else that I can visualize and kind of be like, okay, that's bullshit. Okay, like I can focus more on this, you know? And like actionable stuff. Like instead of being like, oh, I want to grow my Twitch, like, or my YouTube, I guess. Instead of being that, I can be like, okay, I'm going to edit a video like once a day for an hour, or you know what I mean? Like put in like to put in like actionable steps for things that I could do rather than like, you know, make more money. And it's like, okay, how are you going to do that? You know what I mean? Like putting specific things on paper can also be very helpful to be like, okay, because I used to make like some shit resolutions where it would be like, I want to hit like Twitch partner, and it's like, what does that really mean? Like, what, you know what I mean? It's corny, but SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Ooh, she's a productivity guru with her acronyms and shit. It's true though. It's true. Like blocking out, if it works for you, like one thing that really works for me is also like me blocking out time on like my Google Calendar, for example, to be like, okay, dedicating that hour to like having breakfast. So during that hour, I have breakfast and then I do whatever, like scrolling through social media, watching a video, watching a show, watching whatever, and just existing for that hour. And then the next hour, I like, okay, for that hour, you're going to exercise. And so after that, it's like, okay, it's after I've done whatever, I'm dedicating that hour to like working out, and then dedicating an hour to like showering and relaxing a little bit. And then, you know what I mean? Like dedicating like specific time frames to do specific things or to just like a concept. You know what I mean? It can really also like really help to like keep you on track of like, okay, not necessarily keep you on track, but for you to have like something to look forward to and to like maybe get a notification to be like, oh, it's time to do this, you know? But also to have flexibility with yourself. Like it takes a long time to build up a habit, and it takes an even longer time to break that habit. So like go easy on y'all, on yourselves, y'all, because it's not easy to like, like if you don't work out regularly, like don't expect to like suddenly work out every single day and to never like quote unquote fail. Like, you know what I mean? Like be cute with yourself. You read a lot of self-help books before you found therapy. I feel like I end up seeing self-help like videos every so often. And it pisses me off sometimes because some of them are like scammy. Some of them are like, well, and you can buy my course, and it's like, well, okay. And it's like, oh, okay, I know what this is. Okay, I can change your life if you only pay $1,000 for my course. There's like a video that I go back to sometimes, called "You Should Be a YouTuber," and then in like, it's not parentheses, like in a, I forget what the word is, like in a not a column. What is it called? When you do the, not the parentheses, the ones that are like circular. I know how to say it in Portuguese. I don't know the English word for it. Anyways, yes. That's not a parentheses. Parentheses is this. What is that called? No, but a parentheses. Wait. It is a parentheses. Oh, the word I was thinking is brackets. They can also be called a bracket. A bracket of parentheses. Huh. You're right. I got confused. Anyways. Anyways. What was I talking about? So the video is like, you should be a YouTuber, and then in parentheses, or an artist or whatever. And it's like a Sonic the Hedgehog thumbnail. You can't miss it. The username is Neat on the Rocks. And it's a very neat video on that. The sometimes puts things into perspective for me. It's this person talking about how they sort of see the world of content creation, but also like in a real way, where they also talk about like how they used to spew out like that sort of grind mindset bullshit, and that a lot of people like the Gary V's of this world do and stuff like that, where it can be like pretty toxic and stuff like that, and sort of like their whole takeaway from it. And it feels inspirational, and it feels like, like okay, and it sort of encourages you to like just do the thing, kind of, and I like that, and I like that a lot. So I don't really get super inspired by like a TED talk or something like that, because stuff like that can feel oftentimes so unattainable. Like it feels like that's beyond me. Like that feels like you already got to the destination and I don't know how to get there kind of thing. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think, you know, as I get my shit like diagnosed and stuff like that, I think it's gonna be interesting for me to find ways to like do things in a way that works for my brain, rather than, because a lot of productivity advice and a lot of productivity things and a lot of just advice in general and self-help things in general don't apply to everyone. No, it's not in that sense. Messy, Miss Betsy. It's not in that way. It's not in like, what are you waiting for? Just do it. It's more of like challenging you to be like, because chances are if you click on a video saying that you should be a YouTuber, you probably want to do YouTube. So it's a thing. It's more of like encouragement to be like, hey, there's always gonna be a specific thing that the algorithm pushes for. There's always gonna be a specific type of meta, but like do what makes you happy kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's more like encouraging you to like do it for the love of it, rather than like getting overwhelmed over the fact that like the algorithm isn't gonna pick your stuff up, or like your stuff isn't gonna resonate with others, or like just to be like, quite literally the end of that video is them challenging you to like stop putting off the one creative thing that you want to be doing right now, which led me to I'll talk about it, I don't care, which led me to opening a few tutorials on Ableton, which for people who don't know, that's a music production program. Because I've always wanted to learn. I love music. I literally like come up with songs all the time, like little melodies or little things here and there. And I'm just sort of like, after watching that, I was actually going to clean my room way earlier in that afternoon. That was kind of like what I planned to do. But I ended up spending like 2 hours like watching like Ableton videos and then like doing a little follow along thing. And then I was like, okay, I really need to clean my room, so let me do that instead. But it really like influenced me to do that, and just like just like do something for the creative endeavor of it all, and just for like the fun of it, and just to like get something out of your system, and not necessarily for the sake of like a number, or like for the sake of making it into like content, or even for the sake of like even releasing it as a song. Because I used to like fuck around with like a keyboard all the time. Like I didn't know how to play, but I would fuck around with like all the, you know, like one of those like electric keyboards, the ones that you plug into the wall and they have like little filters on them, and like the keys sound different if you press certain filters or certain buttons, or like some things like sound like different like drums or whatever. We used to have one of those growing up. I didn't know how to play it, but I would sometimes play it by ear. Like I would try to like mimic certain songs or whatever, and I would just like fuck around with it for like an afternoon. And so just like, I mean, I didn't even make anything, y'all. I just sort of followed along to a YouTube video after having a meltdown, because I watched like a couple videos. This person on YouTube actually has a lot of like really cool videos on like how to make music, and they sort of like try to simplify concepts like music theory and stuff like that. Their name is Ethan Davis. And so I watched a couple of their videos and I was like, okay, I can do this. And then like little things like, I don't know how to zoom in onto the timeline. Why doesn't this look this way? Why doesn't, like, I was like, oh my God, I can't do it. Oh my God. Oh. And then I just ended up watching another video of theirs that was like, hey, beginner guide follow along. And I was like, oh, that's how you do that. Oh, that's like, and just sort of like getting my feet in the water a little bit. That alone felt so good, just like for a little bit, just to fuck around with it for like an hour, you know what I mean? So because there's like a 30-day trial for Ableton, for example, and so I was like, let me just like do it, like let me just fuck around. And like I ended up like, actually before I even did that, I voice recorded whatever song was in my head that I kind of like came up with, and I just sort of voice recorded, and I was like, you know what, this may not ever amount to anything, but I was like, but why not? For the fun of it, you know, for the creative of it, or whatever, you know, like maybe one day it could amount to something, you know? But yeah, it felt good to like just be creative without like an agenda. And that's why I was kind of holding back on talking about it on stream, because I was like, I don't want to make this like a thing where like, you know, you know what I mean? I don't want to make it a thing until like maybe one day if I want to make it a thing. But like as of right now, I'm just sort of like, you know, like a cute like thing that I picked up like that one day. Beyonce paints, but shows nobody because it's for her. How do you know she paints? Does she not douche? Why does she paint? Anyway. Silly. I know what you mean. Yeah. To just have something for you, you know, like something that's not going to be recorded, something that's not going to be posted, something that's not, you know, maybe if one day that happens to be a thing where like I want to make it a thing, because sometimes what stops me sometimes from doing things is like me being like, oh, I should make that a thing, like I should make it a video where like I'm gonna learn how to like make a song in 30 days, and it's like, maybe I don't want to do that, you know, like maybe I don't want to do that, that's all. But anyways, it's like doing more stuff like that where like I get out of my comfort zone and like I learn a new skill. I mean, ideally I would love to like do a proper course where I learn how to do it, and like that, and like DJing and stuff like that. I do think that I have like a big creative bone in myself. I just sat on it one day, I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like I've always like sort of grown up with like, my parents would play music all the time, and we always had like a big, like music was always a thing, you know, like my grandparents had an accordion growing up. Actually, my grandfather was actually part of a band for like a while, and like we fully had cassette. I don't think I've ever listened to their music actually, but he was like part of like a local band that would play like things locally and stuff like that, and we had like a couple, I think we may have had a vinyl, and also like 2 or 3 like cassettes at the time. And so like just like that, and like I said, like having that keyboard around, and I just fucked around with it for a while. And then in school we had like for a couple years I think we had music as well, so I learned just like public school, like middle school, for like a year or two. We would like play the recorder, and I was terrible like at like reading music, but I was lovely at like listening to a thing and like recreating it, which we call learning by ear and playing by ear. But you know what I mean? Like I've always sort of had that in me, but I've always like over the years like, oh, I'm not good enough, or like whatever, you know, it's not a realistic job thing. And then I ended up doing YouTube, which is like, that's not realistic either. But I used to do covers as well on this very channel. But all of that to say that I feel like, I don't know, maybe I killed that dream a little bit, and it's like, let's bring her back, you know, let's bring her back, even if it's like for fun in my bedroom, like why not, you know? But yeah, the idea of doing a thing versus the experience of doing all, yeah, that can also be interesting, because sometimes you think you want to do something and then you start doing it and you're like, oh, I don't like this, you know? And so, but honestly, sometimes you're like, you also have to get over yourself and allow yourself to be bad. I saw a video, it was a clip from, I don't know how to pronounce their name, Doichi, the artist. And she was talking about how she allows herself to be bad when she's like songwriting or whatever. She's like, it's okay to be bad. Not every song is gonna come out good. Not everything, like, just allow yourself to be bad at a thing that you love. Just allow yourself to just do the thing, and then you can always like edit. You can always just be like, okay, I got that out of my system. Let me work on something else. And maybe the next thing is gonna be great, you know? And so that was sort of like, I think little things have sort of popped up on my like recommended and stuff like that, and like shorts and stuff that I'm like, it sort of like has, yeah, healed a little bit of that in me. Because I don't necessarily look at it as like, I want to be a pop star, or I want to do whatever, but like, because I even ended up like, it feels like another life, but I ended up like applying for the X Factor even, you know what I mean? Never made it through any rounds, but you know, I tried. But yeah, I said it a little, I've said it a little bit throughout this year, but the 30s are hitting different. The 30s are hitting different. It feels like it feels so new. There's like an excitement about starting a new decade, for me at least. And there's sort of like a thing of like, okay, the 20s were a thing, and now it's time to like, you know, take what you've learned from that and apply it, and stop giving a fuck about certain things, and just like not wanting to entertain other things, or so I don't know, it's like hitting different. Like certain things are just like sort of like, I'm sort of okay with letting go of them, and others I'm like, as I learn more about myself as well, like it sort of allows for there to be room for me to be like, yeah, I don't really care about that, and that's okay, or you know what I mean, like stuff like that. Does that make sense? But yes, nature is healing for sure. And yeah, I mean, whatever that takes me, even if that means like, I don't know, like I'm even, and I know this sounds kind of wild saying it on stream, but even if that means like not streaming anymore, like I used to sort of say that in sort of a negative thing of like, you know, maybe quitting is in the cards, but I don't even mean it like that. I mean it as like, if my attention is going to be focused on something else, or if my attention turns to something else, it's not like I don't imagine myself really going anywhere as far as like, I don't imagine going from like streaming as often as I stream to like not doing anything at all on the internet. But what I mean is like, you know, streaming for the sake of like just doing it consistently and like streaming all the time is also probably a thing that, you know, if that needs to change, then so be it. You know what I mean? Like if I need to kind of cut back on streaming a little bit to focus on other things, or to like make videos, for example, instead of streaming as often, maybe I'll make more videos or something. I'm just sort of like open to also changing, because I also know that you can't grow without changing, you know? And I think this year has taught me in like slight ways that sometimes things change and you just grow from them, you know what I mean? And sometimes you can get a new outlook on certain things if you just like change your approach to them, or if you change certain aspects. So I'm quite thankful for this year, because it really I think I think turning 30 has everything to be depressing. Like, I think it's a recipe. Like, turning 30, what I'm trying to say is turning 30 can very easily be like a depressing time of like, oh, I'm getting old, or like my 20s are behind me and what did I accomplish in my 20s? I got all that done in 2023. That was probably, it wasn't, I wouldn't say that that was my lowest of lows, but 2023 was kind of a little depressing in that manner, because it was like, and I think I still have a video from that year where it was like a very reflective 29th birthday or something like that, where it was me just being like, it was a very depressing video at first. I had to edit a lot of it out. But it was because at the end I sort of ended up being like, actually maybe there's something to learn from this. But that video sort of had, the original vibe for that was like me ranting about something, and then it was like me being like, you know, I didn't achieve anything that I thought I would, and like I'm not ending my 20s the way that I envisioned I was going to, and all, like, you know what I mean, like a very real thing. But in a way, I'm thankful that I got that out of the way, because then this year I just got sort of overtaken with this vibe of like the 30s. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that step. I'm excited for that new chapter, you know? So, you know, in a way, I'm glad, you know, that 2023 was a little depressing, so that 2024 could slowly open the window so that the sunlight could come in, and maybe, you know, for 2025 and onwards to be more bright and juicy and stuff. Process the loss of the 20s and made room for the 30s. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. And also, I think, I don't know, maybe there's something in the air. Maybe there's something that happens when you turn 30 that I didn't really believe in until it happened. But like, there's just like, I feel like I just see things differently. Like, so now I look at like a 20-year-old or a 21 or 22 or someone in the 20, I look at someone in their early 20s as like, oh my God, they're a baby. Like, they don't even know half of it. You know what I mean? And I'm sure I'll feel this way about myself when I turn 40 and I'm like, oh my God, you're 30, girl. You know what I mean? But not in a bad way. It's more like, I think what I'm trying to say is like, I think oftentimes we're expected, or I think we have that idea like when we're teenagers, especially, where we're like, oh my God, I'm going to be an adult. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to accomplish all these things. Oh. And then when you get to the end of your 20s, and at least that's been my experience, in like the very beginning of your 30s, you're just like, girl, the 20s are just like a mess. The 20s are just the year, like I still see the 20s as like formative years. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like when I was a teenager, I saw 30 as like old. And I was like, oh my God, by the time I'm 30, I better have my own place. I better be married and have a boyfriend and all this stuff. Like, married and a boyfriend. Wow. Cheating on your man. No, but you know what I mean? Like, having my own place and like having my life figured out and all that stuff. And then you learn, and then you see your peers, and you're like, okay, for everyone who's like married in their 20s and has their shit together, there's also plenty of people who don't. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not a linear experience for everybody. And The 20s are truly like formative years. I believe personally. And I feel like I'm barely 30, and I feel like I'm already like, I feel like I still have so much to learn and so much to live. Yeah, that's why I'm there's a level of excitement because I'm gonna be more active in like documenting this year. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to like compare how I feel in the beginning of 2025 with like the end of 2025, and just like what I go through that year and all that stuff. So it should be very interesting. I feel like I always sort of document it in a way through streaming, but I'm gonna make more of like a concerned effort. You'll see. A lot of people force the plan to tick the boxes and it doesn't make them happy. Oh, for sure. There has to be so many people who are like married with children and they have their own place and all this stuff, and they may be miserable. You know what I mean? It doesn't, yeah. Following the plan, TM, doesn't necessarily make it better or their lives better than yours and all of this stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah. There's also that. But yeah, it's so tricky. I think especially as a queer person, when so much of your self development is sort of restricted because you're not out, or you're afraid of being outed or whatever. Like there's just like, I mean, I still haven't had experiences that are like, you know, dating somebody and getting my heart broken and like, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. And it's like, oh, and I feel like when in your 20s, I feel like sometimes there's a tendency to rush into those things. Thankfully, I didn't really do that. But, I think another thing that happened when I didn't fulfill literally any dreams or goals that maybe I expected to in my 20s, there was something liberating about that. That was like the amount of stress that I put into wanting to something. That was not a sentence that makes sense. The amount of stress and anxiety that I put into something is not going to equate to how quickly or a higher probability of it happening. You know what I mean? So it almost took a little layer out, or a big thing over me, that to be like, girl, if something is gonna happen, it will happen. It's not, if you stress about something every single day, it's not gonna make it happen any faster or any, you know what I mean? So that also took a little bit of that pressure off of me to be like, okay, just like take your time, girl. There's no right or wrong answer. If you want to go like this, like what Cash was saying earlier, like if you want to go back to school, like that door is always open. If you want to do this, that's always open. If you want to do that, you know what I mean? Like the sky is the limit, really, you know what I mean? And it obviously depends on a lot of different things. Like I can say that a little more confidently because I still live with my parents, and you know, it's not like if I have a failed venture that I'm not gonna have anywhere to go, kind of thing. But and it's a very privileged position to be in. But yeah, we do have control over some stuff in our lives and the energy that we put into some things. And sometimes we forget. I think sometimes we get so caught up in like the job or the thing or the goal or the plan or the objective or whatever, that we sort of like sometimes don't even look at what's in front of us, or we don't even like, you know, we don't deal with the things that are bothering us, or we don't acknowledge and confront and fix things that need to be fixed. You know what I mean? So yeah. Twink death makes you mad as somebody that came out so late. Like life isn't over, girls. I think the twink death thing is like your body changes after a certain age, so you're you know, you're not just a skinny a tiny person, you know. It's very silly. That's like a whole other thing though. Like gay people, specifically gay men, are very, there's like a lot of issues there with like body image and the categorization of oneself, and like it's like a whole thing. And that's why dating sometimes is like not the most appealing thing to me either, because it's like I don't want to, like, I hate like that thing of like, I remember like when I was like on Grindr, and I know like what was I expecting being on Grindr, but like being on Grindr with the intent of like dating, and like the first thing people ask is like top or bottom, or like show your body, or like, you know what I mean, like, and it's like, damn, okay. Like, you know what I mean? So there's like a lot of it, and I don't think it's like a, you know, I'm sure this happens with any gender, and like it's a people thing, not necessarily a gay men thing. But there's also like a lot of different issues that I think are very specific to gay men, where like, yeah, the labeling of like top, bottom, side, I don't know, twink, otter, bear, and all this shit, like it's wild to me, and like completely unnecessary, but you know, here we are. But yeah, I know this was very I don't know, like it's not, I'm not, this doesn't feel like woo New Year's. Like it feels like maybe the last stream of the year should be like a little bit more ceremonious, I guess, or like, is that a word, like festive maybe? But I'm looking forward to the new year. I hope that you are as well. Thank you so much for joining me for this stream, later a video, I guess. Where, you know, it started with me ranking games that I played this year and ended with ranting, rambling, yapping. But I really appreciate it. I appreciate every single one of you who has supported me, from Twitch to YouTube, the people that came across my streams over here, the people that followed me from one place to the other, to all the continued support on Ko-Fi and otherwise. I'm so thankful to you all, and this really, I don't know, I feel like this year has been a lot of like sort of like new beginning vibes and changes, so I'm really looking forward to 2025 and like continuing that sort of like momentum of like changing, growing, evolving, and I hope that you will join me alongside that adventure. And I yeah, very appreciative, and I hope that one thing is that I hope that I can be more appreciative sometimes rather than looking at what I don't have. So yeah, my precious juiciness, y'all are my precious juicies. Thank you so much for being my precious juicies. I appreciate y'all so much. Have a wonderful New Year's Eve and start to your 2025. I will be back on the 1st of January, the first day of the year, on Wednesday. And I hope to see you for that. And I don't know what I'll be doing that day. I'm gonna be honest. I would love to sit here and tell you that I'm gonna play Metaphor or Sonic or something, but I will figure that out the day of, I'm sure. And there's also something else for you to look forward to on that day, but you'll see. Have a good one. I appreciate you. You're the best. Like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. Stay juicy. Have a good one. Goodbye. The last goodbye of 2024. The last stream of 2024. Bye, y'all. Ooh. There you go. Ooh. Goodbye.